Welcome, 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 one and all, to yet another episode of WIC TV. It's a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. Gang, we've got a show for you today. Two of our panelists are still on their way. One is in traffic and will be here shortly. One hopefully was talking to me earlier, and hopefully they'll show up soon. But in the meantime, while we wait, I did want to go live on time for you guys. And I guess just to start then, while we wait for these people, let me just give an apology. So, a few days ago, apparently, I was looking at my records. Apparently, I missed someone on Twitch donating me 50 gift subs, and I entirely overlooked it. I entirely missed it. I didn't see it at all. I made no thank you or anything. So to Cowbunga Andy, if you are in chat or if you see this video, I'm sorry I didn't see it when you gifted me all that money. I apologize. I hope you can forgive me, man. No excuse for it. I should have noticed that. Why didn't I notice that? I'm not sure. But I'll have to go look and see what I was talking about at that time. Anyway, so I wanted to just put that out there. First and foremost, okay, that I apologize. Okay, what do we got today to talk about? So first of all, the Baby Seal Club, nice to see you. Richard Long, hello, hello. Nair Stalks, apology accepted. Well, you're welcome. Though you weren't the one that gave me all the money. Tonight, we're going to be talking about SNAP, right? Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program. Food stamps is another way of putting it. I think that there has been a lot of discourse given the fact that SNAP benefits have recently, because of the shutdown, run out. And people are looking at this program wondering how about 42 million Americans are going to get by without their SNAP benefits. Stardust, welcome to the show.
Hello. Sorry for the delay. I got lost for a second. I'll be
Look, take your time. I'm just introducing the topic, and GenZ isn't here yet. Hopefully he will be in a second, and then we'll just kind of get started. But yeah, there's been a lot of talk about whether or not the SNAP program is a good program, whether or not it needs reform and how to reform it, and also whether or not things like cookies, soda, juice, etc., snacks of various kinds should be SNAP eligible. Should the government and the tax money pay for people on federally funded assistance programs to be able to buy a cookie or to buy a soda or something like that? Or should it be more strictly regulated? Why or why not? We got some great guests today, which are still setting up, and one of them's going to be here hopefully soon, so I can stop stalling. And then we'll kind of get into the discussion at hand. But I guess we can start by getting some intros from the people who are here. So let's start with Dr. Darko. Tell us who you are, what you do, why we should listen to you, and what are your initial thoughts on SNAP and the benefits it provides. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Darko. I'm a biochemistry and math nerd who also likes to do politics stuff. I think SNAP is one of the best federal programs that has ever been rolled out. It's super efficient. There's, like relatively low fraud. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think we should be restricting purchases in there because it would not be practical or effective.
Okay, well, we will get into it as we go. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to the arguments. Next up, Deej. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Deej. I follow WIC occasionally, come on these panels. You can follow me on Twitter. I always am planning on making content for my YouTube channel, but then life gets in the way, and I also lose motivation. Very ADHD brained of me. As far as SNAP is concerned, I agree that it is an effective program. I agree that fraud, I mean, I guess it depends on what you classify fraud as, is not rampant by any stretch of the imagination. That doesn't mean it's perfect. And I also do believe that it would be a moral good to restrict what SNAP funds can be purchased for. The data on what SNAP participants purchase is pretty damning as far as them making choices for their own personal health goes. It's not about being able to buy the occasional cookie, it's buying the 12 packs of soda instead of the liters. It's buying individual snack bags of chips. It's also everything from the rate at which they consume sugary drinks, high fatty foods, just as a whole. The US sets a very low bar for food health, and SNAP, unfortunately, somehow manages to slide well under that. We have lots of data on it. We can get into those if we want to.
Okay, well, thank you for being here. I am interested to hear your arguments on the topic, and we will get into it as we go. Next up, Stardust, who hopefully will have her camera on soon.
Yes, I will soon, shortly. Sorry.
Okay.
So yes, hi, I'm Stardust. You may know me as somebody who used to be quite active in like the streaming space, but I haven't been recently, partly because I just took a break, and then also because I've been editing for other people. So you can find my stuff also youtube.com/StardustIRL. And my stance on this is I tend to agree that I think SNAP is one of these really beneficial programs for a lot of people. Obviously, there are going to be some people who slip through the cracks, who take advantage of the system, or using SNAP benefits or selling their SNAP benefits, whatever, right? But uh, on the whole, I do think it's a good program. I don't think that restricting people is the way to go. If you want people to make healthier choices, the way to do that is education. But I would remind people that this SNAP is a supplemental food program. It is not a total food program. It is a supplemental one, and I don't think it is within. I don't think it should be within the government's purview of what those people buy with their supplemental um, nutritional assistance funds. I don't think that that's a right thing. I think that people should be able to make their own choices in what they choose to put in their bodies, and hopefully with the right education, they make better choices.
Okay, well, thank you for being here. We will get into it as we go. Our last guest is a minute out, he says. Hopefully that's true. But until he gets here, let's I'll give you my thoughts on this, and then we'll kind of open it up if he's not here yet. So my thoughts on this is I understand that some of the people who are on these programs are going to make poor decisions with their EBT, with their SNAP benefits, that they're going to buy more cookies or snacks or what have you than they should. That will happen. I think that's fine. That's just a price we pay for allowing people the dignity to be able to make their own purchasing decisions. It's not just about keeping them fed and alive. It's also about helping them to maintain their dignity. And I think that that's a very important part of the process. But we will get into it as we go. With that, we're going to open up the floor until our friend gets here. Go ahead.
Yeah, one question I have is if this is about like dignity and people being able to use the tax dollars that they're given by the government for this purpose, if it's about dignity and it's not about nutrition, why have any restrictions like at all? Why don't we just, instead of having EBT at all, just give them a $9 a day stipend to spend on whatever it is that they want?
I think that
go ahead.
this is specifically made for nutritional assistance, right? I do think that that we specifically designate for nutritional assistance so that people at least do the bare minimum with that, right? We don't want people spending their money on like gambling instead of like feeding their kids, right? I think that's a fair enough like barrier that you put there. But as far as like choosing for people what they put into their bodies. I don't think that that's right. I don't think the government should do that. I think the government, again, this is a supplemental thing. As far as like feminine hygiene products, I would totally support like supplementing feminine hygiene products for low income people. But I think that would still be that would be something separate, right? That would be through the state healthcare whatever thing, right? So.
I don't mind
So
having like restrictions, but like to define like what is like healthy food or what is unhealthy food is a pretty like big task. Like there are nearly 700,000 food and beverage products in the U.S. You're talking about creating like a whole commission to classify each of those into healthy and unhealthy, to keep that list updated, and then to pass that list down to like an administrative burden to all of the like grocery stores. Like putting an extra cost on them, which is going to disproportionately affect small business owners who are just going to stop participating in SNAP and like cut people off who need food the most.
Yeah, and that would probably cut into the SNAP benefits themselves, right? That are available for people who need them.
So to be clear, we're all aware that SNAP is not like blanket for any and all food items. Like not every food item is eligible. We already have essentially
We know
commissions that
yeah.
determine what is SNAP eligible or not. So we already have the mechanisms in place to dictate what foods are SNAP eligible or not.
Or what do I mean? Like hot prepared foods are the only like going out to a restaurant to eat to get like served food is pretty much the only restriction, and even that kind of varies state by state. So I guess I don't quite know what you mean by that.
Not entirely. So there are grocery food items that are still not SNAP eligible as well, or EBT eligible.
Foods, prepared
and
foods. And I think they should
and
take
also
that, to be honest.
One at a time. Let's go Stardust first, and then we'll let
No, you
Deej
were
go.
speaking first. I interrupted. I'm so sorry.
Okay, Deej first, then Stardust.
Yeah. So, and we do have exceptions as well for the hot foods for like homeless people and people that don't have the ability to refrigerate or bake, which I think is honestly fine. We could take care of the homeless that way. But I guess the premise kind of comes down to me of the point of this program is to make sure that we have a nutritionally like balanced population and that poor people are able to be properly sustained. I think that is a good thing that we should do in developed societies. We're not living in medieval Europe anymore where we just accept starvation as a like price of the human condition. But I guess I would challenge this notion that it's undignifying to limit what you can purchase, especially because, as Stardust brought out, SNAP is supplemental. It's not designed to be your only source of money to purchase foods, even though $9 a day, you definitely can live on that without having to supplement it. This isn't a matter of being like, no, poor people can't have cookies, right? Number one, like, nobody I think that is on my side of the aisle is arguing that they shouldn't be able to buy granulated sugar, flour, and butter and make their own cookies. I think what is the concern that a lot of people have is that we have, statistically, this is not an outlier. This is very, very widespread. When you compare SNAP eligible non-participants, which means people that would qualify for SNAP that choose to not participate, and SNAP participants, the quality of food that these two individuals, and this controls for geographic locations, age, sex, gender, etc., when you control for all those factors, they consume sugar sweetened beverages at massively higher rates. They consume unhealthy foods at massively higher rates. It's all USDA data. If we want to, I can link you 7 different articles directly from the USDA that goes over this. They consume much, much unhealthier food when left to their own devices. And it, like
where they live.
Yes.
Okay.
Geographically located. Generally, what they do is they also solve self-selection issues. They take a group of people that live in geographically similar areas. They find people that are like SNAP qualifying that don't participate and SNAP qualifying that do participate, and look at both the foods that they purchase, how much fruit, vegetables, high fatty foods, high sugar foods, the rate at which they buy sugar sweetened drinks, stuff like that, as well as measuring things like obesity, diabetes, a lot of the health problems that come with eating unhealthily. And SNAP participants, they just are a lot less healthier than the base population.
Okay.
Could that not be a result of like education?
After you're done, Stardust, I want to get Gen Z in here. So finish your response, and then we'll get to Gen Z.
Yeah, could that not be a result of like education, right? I would assume that somebody who is much more proactive and wants to, maybe not participate in SNAP for whatever reason, that they might be slightly more educated on what food is best for them and for their family, right? Like I just wonder like what is the reasoning behind this and like could it not just like I don't think that the reason why people on SNAP buy unhealthy food, it purely boils down to them being on SNAP, right? And we all, acknowledge that, right? So
Well, I mean, I'm sure that there's individual factors, but statistically, the numbers bear out that if you are on SNAP, you are statistically more likely to make worse food choices than if you were not on SNAP, even if you have the same income between those
Okay.
two groups.
I do want to give the mic to Gen Z, who has made it. Hooray. And hopefully Stardust will get her camera on soon so we can all see her lovely face. But Gen Z, why don't you introduce yourself? And you've been listening in, you say. So just jump on in with your thoughts on the matter. Go ahead, please. I'd like to give you that space.
Appreciate you having me once again. Good to be here as always. For those who don't know me, I'm Scotty O, aka Gen Z attorney. You can call me any of the above. I do work as an attorney in North Carolina doing criminal defense litigation as well as family law litigation and really anything else civil. But I am also part of a project coalition we're calling the Reasonable Right, working with Ryan Mullally. We got a podcast, the Ordered Liberty podcast, every Sunday night, 8 p.m. Would love to see y'all there. And when it comes to Snap, like Wick said, I did text him, said I was listening in. Deej has been holding down the fort. Pretty much everything he said, I've largely been in agreement with. No, not largely, entirely. Sorry, Deej. Hate to do it. Sorry to do you like that. I think my basic premise here, my basic gist is, it really just comes down to the title of the very program. It's the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program. Yet the entire debate that's been being had surrounding SNAP is that people are going to starve without SNAP. Well, if they're going to starve, then that means that it's not being used as a supplemental assistance. So there's 2 of the 4 letters that are knocked out. And if we're talking about whether or not what people are using it for and whether they're allowed to just get whatever they want. And as Deej is pointing out, the data does reflect it's being used poorly to get unhealthy foods, soft drinks and sodas being the number one thing, then that completely takes away the nutritional part. So 3 of your 4 letters are being knocked out by the way SNAP is currently being used. So that's why I think there is a lot of ground for major reform, and also too whether that this should actually be administered at the federal level versus at state and local level. I think that's another big issue we've got here. And beyond that, there was a point made about, well, it's not really about nutrition, it's about dignity. And I got a lot more I want to say on that, but I'll leave that, and we can just kind of continue the discussion from there.
Okay, go ahead. Floor's open.
Yeah, I don't know what data you're looking at, but yeah, I looked at a systemic review of the consumption of sugar sweetened beverages across like 10 different studies. 4 found there was a significantly higher thing, but 6 did not. Yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily true. Also, over time, like that hasn't necessarily held. I think based on the consumer expenditure survey, like 5 cents of every dollar for SNAP beneficiaries are spent on like sugar sweetened beverages, and 4 cents, for people and people who are income eligible but not participants are spend like 4 cents. So yeah, I don't think it's.
I mean, if we want, because this is probably going to be a major contention. I have 8 different studies listed out that we can go through if you want to dispute and look at them.
Yeah. I don't know if you mind dropping to Jimmy somehow.
Yeah, let me actually share an Excel.
Both of you pick
sheet in
one,
chat.
and I can screen share. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't know how useful it is to go comparing studies, really. Like, I'm more interested in the arguments here. But I mean, like, even if I were to, okay, I do see this also, that there are studies that show that in general they tend to purchase the same amount of sugar. But at the same time, even if I give you your argument that somehow like they're buying more sugar in SNAP households than non-SNAP households, I still don't see why that would make a difference and why, like, whether they should be allowed to buy that. It's a personal choice, right? And I would say that in opposition to what you're saying about this supplemental, it's a supplemental food program. It is not a total nutrition program. It is not something that we are like imposing on people and giving them like a guide. It shouldn't be that, right? Like it shouldn't be like we're putting all these restrictions on people when it is a supplemental program. I just don't understand the logic there.
So what is the issue then with if the design of it is to be supplemental? What's the issue with SNAP being a program that is targeted at your base nutritional needs? Remember, supplemental nutritional assistance, your base nutritional needs, what you need to get through either a week or a month, and leave the extra stuff, the more personal choice, personal convenient stuff. That stuff that you can buy with your own money. What gives you the moral right to go into my wallet and take my money to go buy yourself cookies and soda? Like what's
Well,
the
I mean,
issue
for
with base
one, like you don't get to. Sorry. Or yeah, I mean, for one, you don't get to like give your you don't get to give your stamp of approval on every single line item that your tax dollars are spent on. Like, I don't want 40 billion of my dollars being sent to Argentina to float up their peso, so Javier can keep his fixed exchange rate. But like, no one asked me about that. And yeah, secondly, I mean, if we're actually concerned with changing consumer behavior, then this should, like, just banning it on Snap and making them spend their own money, like it's all fungible. Like they're just gonna move stuff around, and it's not actually gonna change anyone's habits. So if you actually care about people's health, then
Not necessarily though.
As soon as they get off Snap, what's to say that they won't go and participate in bad spending habits again, right? If they're not
Well,
being educated and there's only restrictions on them.
So the reality is like when you look at the number of SNAP participants that are employed, it's only around like 34%. So it really isn't actually supplemental. Like for most people on SNAP, it is their only source of like food income. But to the point of like yeah, they could spend their own money on whatever they wanted. No one is saying that they're not allowed to buy the foods that they want, but it's that we have this amount of money that is earmarked to make sure that they're getting proper nutrition, right? So, like, if we're setting aside money to give to them so that they're getting the nutrition that they need, why is it wrong for us to say we're giving you this money while also having safeguards in place to make sure that that money is being used appropriately for staple foods and is not going towards junk and processed foods and sugar sweetened beverages for the most part, or also
But yeah.
even things like why on earth, like it's one of the most frustrating things like about seeing someone pay with EBT at the grocery store, and I try not to judge, but it's like when you're on EBT and you're buying a 12-pack of soda instead of a liter bottle, it's kind of frustrating. Like it's just one of those things that you look at it and it's like, why are you buying a 12-pack? That is such a waste of money compared to purchasing large liter bottles.
Sure, because like portioning stuff is a lot easier when you have a kid. Sorry, go ahead, sir.
Well, we know they're not portioning their foods. Like they're not doing that. So it's not.
But if you want to send like your kid like with a soda for lunch for some reason because you suck at being a parent, I mean, yeah, doing that with like a liter, like yeah, you can't just. I mean, I guess you could just pour that into like a water bottle and ship that with them, but that seems kind of unhinged.
Well, I mean, that's what my family did when I grew up. We did put our drinks into water bottles. We didn't buy containers of juice. We bought from concentrate. We mixed it ourselves, and then we poured them into bottles if we wanted it to be portable. And that's a sacrifice we had to make. And I wouldn't say that that's undignifying in any way. In fact, I kind of take it as a mark of dignity that, like, we were on hard times and we figured out how to be frugal with the money that we had.
I'm all
Uh,
for like, frugality, but I think again, like, I think that education is a better way to incentivize people rather than restriction, right? Because again, that it's not like they're going to get off of SNAP when they finally do get a job, when they finally do get enough income where they don't need SNAP. Does that like, how if they're not educated on making better decisions, they're just going to view it as like, oh, I don't have these restrictions anymore. Let me buy all this junk food. And I do believe there were studies on habits that non-SNAP households buy more. Like they might not buy as many sugary drinks as SNAP households, but they do buy more of other junk items. So unless there's education there, like yeah, they're just going to go back to those habits.
See,
But there are also.
Well, let's give to
Go.
Gen Z, and then we'll go to
Yeah,
Darko.
I just, Stardust. Well, first, nice to meet you. Glad you're here. You keep making this point about education, and I think I just have to push back strongly on that. So, because I used to be a prosecutor, and in court, I mean, you can think of the typical profile of a criminal defendant, and it's like you're kind of saying, it's not educated, and it's people who make poor life decisions. And this argument that like, oh, we just need better education to help these people out, like that argument was just used basically over and over again by a criminal defendant saying, well, look, if you just cut me a break on this one, I promise I'll go get help. I'll go, maybe education is not like the exact mapped on comparison, but like they always promise that they're going to do what they're
Yeah, but
supposed to do, and then they never actually
we're
do
not
it.
talking about criminals here. We're talking about people who are
No,
supplementing
I'm making the
their food,
comparison
right?
between people who make poor life decisions. And I think if you're getting to the point where your entire sustenance, your
I think
entire
there's a huge difference between people who are making poor life decisions when in their eating habits versus people who are making poor life decisions and committing crimes. There's like a huge, massive fucking difference there, is there not?
Yeah, arguably you could say the poor eating habits is even worse because if you're talking about if you're poor and you have terrible eating habits and you get completely unhealthy, what kind of medical program are you going to be on? Medicaid, right? And so now not only are you government subsidized food, but now you're also on government subsidized healthcare, which I mean, if you want to look at our national debt, it is 2/3 of it is mandatory welfare programs. And so if we're talking about how we can actually have solutions to some of these problems, I get what you're saying, education, but I just don't. I mean, until we actually
Right.
see that
I'm
borne
just
out in
gonna
some
disagree
data.
with you on one thing that you just said. You just said that like arguably making poor eating habits is worse than being a criminal. I'm gonna just disagree with you there because that criminals are often in and out of jail, right? They're often not contributing members to society. Sorry to say it. Um, and I'm sorry, but like people who are on food benefits, they might be, not people who are, gainfully employed all the time. They might be people who are not making enough, but like they still have children and family members who will go on to be contributing members of society. So I'm
$5
sorry,
from Greg Gill to
criminals
say,
are objectively worse.
yeah, $5
As
from
somebody
Greg
dealt
Gill
with a lot
to
of them.
say,
Well, I'll let you go first, but
yep,
yeah.
not knowing how to cook is not similar to being a criminal. What was Gen Z's point? And I'm going to toss it to Gen Z to answer that question.
As someone who probably has the most experience out of the five of us dealing directly with criminals, I can tell you for a fact that yeah, the when we talk about the net drain on society, I know I sound like a woke snowflake here, defending the criminals. But when I compare it to the point I just made, which is government subsidized food, you spend poorly, you get completely unhealthy, and now you're going on the government subsidized dime for healthcare. I mean, can you actually address that point directly as to whether or not you think that's a drain on society and that's something that should actually be changed?
I mean,
Yeah.
what that what people on welfare are a drain on society?
Yeah,
The point he's trying to make is that there's a direct correlation of it. We give them money that kind of gives them carte blanche the ability to purchase unhealthy foods. They purchase those unhealthy foods at greater rates than the base population, and then they
And
have
they end up
higher rates of
yeah,
health issues than the greater
and they're
population. And
often
because they're
on
on Medicaid, the amount of money we spend on the Medicaid is actually even more than what we end up spending on SNAP, to help obviously take care of those health issues that they end up having because of the food that they're eating.
because
And
yeah.
and his point is that we spend more money on that than we do prisoners. So that's what he meant when he said it was worse.
yeah, a
I
quick
don't
Google
really
search on the
care
spending.
if we spend more money when we can look at like the objective, like which one is objectively worse for society. Is somebody like killing people or somebody like committing violent crime, I'm sorry, it's just worse for society. I don't mind more of my taxpayer dollars going towards.
I think there's actually a point where the number of kids with diabetes is worse for society than the number of murderers that you're putting in prison.
Plus
Like,
two,
isn't the
plus
obesity
two.
rate going down for the past 3 years in the United States?
Well, before I even go down that rabbit hole, it's the and I hate to just pull the personal experience card, but like when we're dealing with the criminal justice system, it is not violent criminals and murderers that make up the majority of the process. It is nonviolent misdemeanor defendants, whether it's traffic infractions, whether it's
Okay, I'm not talking about them.
Okay, well that's who exactly who I'm talking about, because that's like 90% plus of people who go through the court system. And so if we're talking about the cost that we're incurring based on that, and I just Googled it, cost of incarceration yearly is between 81 and 182 billion. Cost of Medicaid expenditures each year is almost $1 trillion. So the point
Yeah,
I'm
but,
making still
we
stands.
have
We're
an
spending
aging
way more
population.
money.
Yeah, we have an aging population as well, right? Like
That's Medicare. That's Medicare. Don't make that conflation.
Right.
Medicare is for old people. Medicaid is for poor people.
Yeah, okay, sure. I would still I wasn't even referring to people who do nonviolent offenses, right? Like, obviously, I would say, I think when I'm referring to people who are on a net drain on society, I was specifically referring to people who commit violent crime, right? Or people
Yeah,
who
and I'm not disagreeing with you there. Those people are complete drains in society, and we're probably
Yeah.
going to disagree that I think they need to be incarcerated longer than
No, I
our
wouldn't
friends on the left.
disagree with you, actually. I won't disagree with you on that one.
Yeah.
I'm not like a anti incarceration person, but I do think that like there is a trade-off, right? Like, for people to be able to make their own personal decisions, I think they should be able to do that. I think we are not this is like, I don't know, we're not a nanny state, really. I don't want to be having the government telling people what to do. Obviously, you hope that people will make better decisions with their spending, but like, at the end of the day, like, we can't just be imposing these things on people. I
Okay.
just don't think it's right.
Okay, just
So,
real quick before I let some other people in here, because I want to hear from Darko and I want to hear from Deej. $5 from John Keeley to say, why are companies not paying their employees to not be on welfare? And then I just did a quick Google search, so maybe the numbers are incorrect and you can correct me. But average annual cost for an inmate is $44,000. The average annual cost for a SNAP beneficiary is about $188 per month.
well, they're talking about Medicaid, so
Sure.
Yeah, so
but
it's the
then why don't
SNAP
we
and
just
then also
restrict?
the health effects
Hold
that
on.
they have.
But then, if that's your argument, why don't we just restrict that no one can buy sodas or anything like that? Surely the
Yeah,
cost would go down.
Well, so the point is that if you're on SNAP, you're also on Medicare or Medicaid, whichever it is.
Yeah.
Like if it, like, for instance, for me, right, if I get into a issue with my health, right, I'm either paying out of pocket or from the insurance that I'm getting privately, because like any of that money due to my health choices is not being paid for by the government. It's
I mean, how do
being
we? Yeah. So I'm sorry, I have a question. Like, how do we know that just because people are on Medicaid, right? How do we know that they are specifically costing more because of their poor food choices necessarily, right?
Well, it's
Like,
because obesity is like one of the leading indicators of you
Yeah.
having higher like
obesity, sure, but
hospital
obesity has been falling for the past 3 years, right? At least. Also,
a lot of
do
that's wealthy people that can afford
Well,
Ozempic, though.
Okay. Regardless, we also have, we know that people who are lower income live in environments that are more likely to have, bad health effects on them, right? We know that people who work in low income jobs also are going to have like less free time to take care of themselves. So that, like, this is a, the
So
obesity thing. We can address it, but it is like a, multiple. There are multiple reasons for why it's an issue, right?
So I have to push back on the time factor. Most people that are on SNAP are either unemployed or underemployed, either as like full-time caretakers, dependents, or people that even like ages 18 to 59. I believe that it's only 34% are employed at all. And those that are employed are
If you're
usually
unemployed,
underemployed,
then
which
you're
means
not
they're
gonna
working less than 40 hours a week, which means they do have time to meal prep. They just do. We know poor people have time to do things. They're not like busting their ass working 2 jobs and 60 hours a week. There may be some people that are, but that's not the average SNAP recipient.
right?
Sorry, what was that?
Did you not just mention caretakers though?
Yeah, but if you're a caretaker, that means you're taking care of somebody who's also getting SNAP benefits and you're getting SNAP benefits. So you have the time to make meals because you're taking care of somebody else that's disabled.
I don't think that you understand how like intensive like caretaking is then, because like that is probably
No,
one of
I
the
understand.
it's one of the most high stress jobs in the in that you can have. Period. Right?
Yes, but you are, and by the way, it's not like an employed caretaker at like a nursing facility or anything
No,
like
but you're
that.
still
It's like you living in with your mother and helping take care of your mother as she
you're taking
ages.
care of a disabled person that ends up taking up all of your time. It just does.
Not so much that you can't make meals.
No, you
I've
can
taken care of my grandparents before. You have time to make meals. They're not constantly demanding your
No, but
attention for 40 hours a week.
You're talking about meal prepping, right? And actually, I would push back on that. There are a lot of people that you are taking care of that do take 40 hours a week or more.
Not
And
usually in your own home.
yes, yes, they can be in your own home.
Okay. If you factor in like sitting down and like watching a movie with them as your time taking care of them, you're not changing diapers and making food for more than 40 hours a week. But if you consider like being on call, like you're on call for 72 hours a week or whatever, right? You're on call the entire time, but that doesn't mean you're actively working the whole 40 to 72 hours.
Okay, I think this goes back though to my point.
I'm gonna let you reply, then I have a super chat to read, and I want to give it to Darko.
Okay, even if let's say your what you're proposing is true, right? Even if what you're saying is true, I still don't think that restricting the types of food that people can purchase is a solution in the long run, because when they eventually do become higher income or gain employment where they don't need SNAP anymore, then what's to say that they won't just go back to making poor health decisions?
They can do that with their own money then.
Yeah, with their own money, yeah.
Okay, $2 from Gregio to say compromise. SNAP can cover soda and Ozempic. Well, thank you for the $2. Let's toss the mic to Darko. Has been trying to get in here, and I want to give him the chance to have his say. Go ahead.
Based Ozempic. Yeah, no, I mean, just the restrictions are a way to go about it. Again, like the effectiveness of that though is again, if you care about the cost these people are going to put on like the healthcare system, then you want to be effective in changing their behavior, and incentives work much more than restrictions. Like my state, I live in Michigan. Like you get double EBT bucks for when you spend on produce. And yeah, there's been several like really effective pilot programs that show that people there's like a 20 to 25% increase in the purchase of like fruits and vegetables when you roll out those sorts of programs. So like again, like it's if you just ban SNAP from covering like that stuff, because like the principle, or rather because you want to create a nanny state and do a bunch of government overreach or something. I think I heard that somewhere. Like that's not going to change anyone's behavior.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I can see why y'all are trying to do this rhetorical trick, but you keep trying to put it back on us that somehow we're the ones in favor of the nanny state and just government intervention in all aspects of life. We're talking about a government program that we're trying to limit and restrict. Like definitionally, we're the one that's calling for the reduction. You're the ones calling for it to stay the same as it is. And as far as if we're talking about bureaucratic inefficiency.
Hold on, just for clarity, are you calling for a reduction in SNAP?
As far as limiting the things that you're able to buy, yeah, that's the
Okay.
whole premise of the panel, right?
Okay.
In fact,
but not just to be clear, not a limit in the benefits. Like, so you'd still get the same amount of money.
I would be in favor of increasing the SNAP benefits, especially if we cut the amount of or if we did restrict what they ate. I mean, I agree. So from my reading of the restrictions versus incentives, the restrictions actually work best when coupled with incentives. So the largest yield that I found from a study that was consistent, because there has been studies that I did see that did show that incentive only programs did work, especially in the first few weeks, although they started to taper off as time went on. Where like, you know, you get basically 3 SNAP dollars for every dollar spent on like a healthy food choice, you know, your raw meats, vegetables, fruits, etc., versus only $1 on your prepackaged microwave garbage. However, you actually see, as far as effectiveness, the best gains and the most maintainable gains when you couple those incentives along with restrictions. So you allow them to be able to purchase all the staples that are needed, right? You're not going to say, no, you can't buy granulated sugar because granulated sugar is bad for you, right? But what you do is your veggies, you get $3 to the dollar. Your sugar, you only get $1 to the dollar. You can't buy a tub of cookies, but obviously you can individually buy all the ingredients that are necessary to make cookies yourself. And as far as this thing about like, you know, this being like, you know, building up the nanny state, like, I'm sorry, this is money we're taking from other people to give to them. I did also want to make a point on one of the super chats that talked about why don't employers just pay people more. It actually helps suppress food costs because it allows the government to redistribute wealth from other industries into grocery stores by grocery stores not having to pay their low-skilled laborers high wages, and then those laborers being able to be subsidized by the government through tax dollars that are generated in other industries. So it's actually pretty effective at keeping costs down. That's one reason I like SNAP. I'm not like, again, I would be fine with increasing the amount of SNAP dollars that each person gets from like, let's say $9 a day to $15 a day, if it was coupled with restrictions, because at the end of the day, I want healthier children. And the savings that we would have would be much higher. And it would force them to have to spend that money on staples and make things from scratch. Even if you're purchasing unhealthy foods and not having the most healthy of meals, they're still going to be healthier than pre-packaged equivalents.
Okay, Morally Loaded, member for 11 months. Thank you for the membership. Says, why should a government food program have no parameters? And this one's to Stardust and Darko. Go ahead.
I don't
Because
think sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, because why are you trying to make decisions for people? Like, again, or rather, the issue here. You don't get to approve how every dollar of your taxes are spent. I would prefer, you know, like $20 billion of my tax money not be spent on farmers because like some orange dumb fuck like decided to start a trade war with China and they stopped buying our agricultural project or like products, and you know, like they buy, you know, like 20 or a crate, like they're our biggest market for exports for agricultural products and are like 20% of our farmers' incomes. I don't think we should be sending those people money. Like, we should just not be, you know, starting a fucking trade war for no goddamn reason.
Do you think? Well, so you make that point. Do you? I'm assuming you do. Do you actually believe that point? I'm assuming you do.
Believe what point?
Like that you think it's wrong that your tax dollars are being used on these dumb ideas.
Or I mean, like, I would rather them not be, but like, again, I understand that like I don't get to approve, you know, like my approval or disapproval of like tax dollars like doesn't mean I'm allowed to just like advocate for the shutting down of a entire program.
Hold on, why aren't you?
Right.
Oh, just real quick, why aren't you? Why can't you advocate for that?
I mean, I can indirectly advocate for that by voting in different representatives who approve things,
Sure.
presuming that, you know, the separation of powers is still, you know, exists, and the executive isn't just gonna, you know, single-handedly just destroy whatever fucking program that they want.
Yeah, but I just don't understand why, like, if I have an issue specifically with a program of the government that they're doing, like, I do have an issue with several government programs. I have an issue with the military and how they're spending and things like that. I don't think it's outside of the bonds of reasonableness or decency to say, hey, I would rather this program work differently than it does, even though I understand that I can't line item veto every single decision. I can advocate for it to be such.
Yeah, sorry, that was bad wording on my part. Yeah. Like you as a taxpayer don't have the right to line item veto whatever the fuck you want. It's a matter of
Okay, I just want to make sure.
$5. Yeah. Sorry.
$5 from Testicle Johnson to say for fiscal year 2024, SNAP spending federal outlays was about $100 billion, which represents about 1.5% of total federal spending. Thank you.
So the reason I asked the question is not a gotcha or anything, but it's just every time.
Your mic died.
Just died. Yeah. I just want to say, like, I don't think that Gen Z or me are arguing that Snap is like we're putting too much money towards Snap.
Well, but you keep saying like, oh, it's my money though that they're spending, and like I just don't think that's a very compelling argument.
I think that if we are giving money to someone to ensure that they are getting proper nutrition, because at the end of the day, that's the reason we're giving them money, is because we want them to be able to be well fed and be getting proper nutrition. Then it is reasonable for us to restrict that money and say, we're giving you this money for this purpose, and this money is set up in a way, because we already have the ability to restrict what foods are SNAP eligible. Like, it's not like you would even need legislation to change this. Like, Trump could technically have the USDA change what is EBT eligible without Congress needing to do anything. So this isn't exactly like an impossible thing to occur. We already have restrictions on what's EBT eligible.
Yeah, and those restrictions literally showed up like they don't even start till next year, because states submitted waivers like at the behest of the guy who sounds like he got shot in the head. And like, yeah, so like there are no restrictions on what you can buy with SNAP like until next year when certain state bans that requested waivers.
There are restrictions. They're not as restrictive as people may like, but what I'm saying is the system to restrict what is EBT eligible already exists. This doesn't require some new set of bureaucracy or anything like that. It's literally just like a policy change on what is or isn't EBT eligible. It doesn't require like this massive government overhaul to do it. And so we're not even asking for a reform of SNAP, we're just asking for a policy change.
Okay, but we're also looking at families or people who live in areas where they're getting the majority of their groceries from places that don't have a whole lot of fresh foods or things like that, right?
That's a myth. That's a myth.
That's not a myth.
No, it is a myth. When you look at the average, not even the mean, when you look at the average distance to a grocery store that sells produce, it's like 1.4 miles. And when you look at the mean, it's like 5 miles. These people that live in the sticks and the boondocks, they have the ability to go and access grocery stores.
Sure,
Yeah,
but
5-mile trip is.
I'm not talking about everybody in the SNAP program, right? I'm talking about the people who are in the SNAP program who don't have the same access as other people do, right?
Okay, well then we give them the same thing that we give the homeless. So they get an exception based off of their specific circumstances, because we already have the systems in place to manage that. So we can rule out those edge cases.
How many homeless people live out in the sticks?
Not many, but that's the point, is we already have a separate like class of SNAP beneficiaries, and so you just lump those people in with the homeless, which have a more broad selection of things that they can get. Again, it doesn't require a massive overhaul. We already have the systems in place to manage those exceptions, so we don't need to worry about those exceptions.
Okay, so you're gonna have to like provide me evidence that these like restrictions exist, because again, like there were no restrictions up until RFK asked states to like submit waivers to start to ban shit from SNAP.
Is every food item in the grocery store EBT eligible?
Yeah, like non-alcoholic, or I mean everything that's non-alcoholic and cigarettes, yeah.
So what's the difference?
Why then are food items specifically labeled as EBT eligible in grocery stores if it's just all produce, all food items? Because that's not the case. I can go into Walmart right now and look and differentiate between items that are EBT and not EBT eligible. Or unless it is that like some things just like put it on the packaging and others don't.
So I know that WIC has restrictions. Not you, WIC, but other WIC.
I have restrictions too, but it's different and it's a different subject. But go ahead.
True. But yeah, I know like WIC has a more like narrow thing because it's specifically for like children under 5. But for SNAP,
we're talking EBT.
Yeah. So just a quick Google. I'll just give you guys the answer. Okay. Quick Google. This is what it says. SNAP benefits cannot be used for non-food items such as alcohol and tobacco, and most hot or prepared foods that are immediately consumable. But other than that, it's pretty.
So
black.
yeah, let me go off of that because thank you for that, Wig. So Dr. Darko, right, I was listening into the openings when I was driving back home. I believe one of your opening points was Snap is great because of how efficient it is, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the way it currently stands, it has several big things: alcohol, tobacco, hot food, built in as government intervention restrictions. Yeah, it's still, you're hailing it as an efficient program. What is so inefficient? What's this bureaucratic inefficiency you're worried about by simply saying, all right, soda also not allowed to be bought? Like, what's the issue with that?
Because, I mean, well, for one, because it won't drive any change in behavior, and for two, like when I say that it's super efficient, I mean it's way more efficient than like food banks or pantries and creating this whole other like distribution system, like to get food to people who need it, rather than just relying on private retailers who already have these systems in place.
But do you understand what we're saying? The argument we're making when we're saying our core focus here is not necessarily the underlying behavior. Our core focus is what behavior are we going to subsidize with taxpayer money? If people want to use their own money to make bad decisions, guess what? It's a free country. That's a different debate we can have a different time. But when we're talking about what the government is going to incentivize and subsidize, why are we and look, it's already built into the current SNAP program when you're banning alcohol and tobacco from it. Why are those banned? I would assume
because they're non-food items.
Because alcohol is you can argue is a food item, but
I mean,
either way,
but I think you would lose.
Can you argue that alcohol is a food item?
Then how is soda? How is soda a food item?
Yeah.
Because
They're both
I can
leisure
drink
items.
soda every single day and nothing but soda. I'll be fine. I can't drink alcohol every single day and nothing but alcohol and be fine. I will die.
No, you would die from the soda too. I mean, eventually.
Yeah,
No.
eventually, but not.
Sure,
But, like,
eventually I can drink water every day and eventually I will die, right? Like, yes.
Yeah, that's why we're not
Correct,
talking about that.
But, and also
Water-
$50 from Deej Nuts to say take it off.
Why?
Thank you.
By the way, it wouldn't let me say take it off, Wick. So take it off.
Okay. Is that what you're playing for?
YouTube,
Okay.
YouTube was
Go ahead.
censoring me.
Go
all
ahead.
right?
No. Go ahead, guys. I'll just do my
Am I
thing.
not coming through? Am I not coming through? What is
Sure.
this
No,
that
you're good.
people? Okay, am I loud enough? What
Yeah.
is this like that people would die from drinking soda? What is that? What are you talking about?
Well,
Do we-
it's if you're only drinking soda, like let's say that your
not good for
only
you.
beverage that you're drinking is soda, you are not going to be properly hydrated.
Sure, but-
And also you're just going to get diabetes. You're going to get really fat. You're going to have a lot of
Yeah.
health problems that will
Exactly.
come up very quickly, like within a couple of months. I mean,
happened?
okay,
Why
maybe
is
a couple of years. It depends
right
on how
now?
old you are.
What happened? Why are you shirtless? What's going on?
Holy shit!
Deej paid me $50 to take off my shirt.
Someone has to
Oh,
pay $50 to make him put it back on.
Yeah.
Is there a time? Is it like a 5-minute clock, or was it just
No,
permanent?
No.
If you want it back on, you'll pay me $50.
Okay. Well, let me
Hey.
put my wallet away then. Yeah. But I mean, to bring it back to the point though, so we're saying if you have a heavy soda diet consumption, because we're not talking about these extreme, you literally subsist off of soda. No, you can't do that. You can't do it with alcohol. Can't do it with anything. If we're talking about what's actually happening here, which is the consistent consumption of soda, soft drinks that is leading to adverse health consequences like obesity and diabetes. The same way, if you have consistent long-term alcohol consumption, that's going to cause massive damage to your liver. We're not talking about it's going to kill you in a week. We're talking about what are the long-term health consequences, which I don't think any of us can deny. The obesity rates, I know you said they're coming down, but they're still, last I checked, like 40% plus. And that's just, I mean, is anyone here denying that there is a link between, we don't have any beautiful at every sizes here, right? Or healthy at every size. Like we're agreeing that obesity and diabetes are the result of these types of poor diet choices. Everyone agrees with that point?
Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah.
does it then make sense for us to maybe take steps to try and limit the amount of obesity that's happening, especially if the government is involved in directly causing it? Is that a fair, reasonable point?
You're talking out of both sides of your mouth here, where you're like, oh, well, we should put restrictions on here, and if they want to spend their own money, then fuck it, it's a free country. But also, we want to drive like better behavior and better consumption habits. So, like, you have to pick one or the other. Like,
No.
Why not both?
Yeah, the behavior question is a second order question. You're talking about when with people with their own money, because yeah, that is a very real debate. You know, when Bloomberg did the whole soda tax in New York, like there's real debate over whether or not we should have these types of things as government policy to try and adjust people's behavior. But we're not talking about that. That's the second order of business. The first order of business is should the government be involved in directly subsidizing and causing this? And your guys' position in this is that the answer is yes, it should be.
Which, by the way, I'm 100% against soda taxes because again, you are trying to disincentivize people from spending their own money on something, and you're punishing them for spending their own money. It's not a punishment to restrict what SNAP money can be for, because it is a entitlement that you are given, and so any restriction on that entitlement isn't a punishment. It's just a restriction on the entitlement that you're being given.
So wait,
because it's not your money when they're spending SNAP.
But if the government were to fund illegal immigrants getting SNAP and allowing soda and cookies, the illegal immigrants would grow more obese and it would be harder for them to run from ICE. So wouldn't that, in the conservative view, make it so that more illegal immigrants are deported? And wouldn't you be supporting that? Why are you for illegal immigrants being able to outrun ICE?
Believe it or not, I want illegal immigrants to be healthy too.
Okay.
I want them to be able to outrun ICE all the way back to Canada instead of the southern border. Make it really difficult to deport them.
So I got a question for my friends on the left here. Do you guys think that the nutrition part of our supplemental nutritional assistance program, is that being upheld in the way SNAP is currently being used?
Yes.
Okay, why? How is it
because you're increasing the purchasing power of low-income people to buy more and healthier foods. Then yeah, this seems to be borne out in the data.
So you said more unhealthier foods?
More and healthier foods.
Okay.
Go ahead, hold on really quick. Do you believe that you can have a cause of death of malnutrition while having all the food that you could want in the world? When the CDC classifies a death as malnutrition, like say in a nursing home or whatever, is that because these people are not being fed?
No, it's from energy toxicity and like probably micronutrient stuff. Or sorry, that's hard to gauge in like a nursing home. But yeah, I mean like you can be obese and malnourished simultaneously. You're like yes, like we can look at Gazans.
So if we look at like the
not doing an Israel-Palestine debate. Stay on target. Stay on target. Let's keep to the subject at hand. Go ahead.
When you have a population who, because of their the habits of what they spend, their government money that they're given for food on, have a greater nutritional imbalance than the base population, which already is leading the world in nutritional imbalances. Like again, the bar is literally the floor and SNAP goes under it. Is it succeeding in its role of making sure that children and the infirm and those that are not able to afford food for themselves can be nutritionally balanced? Because we're seeing that's not statistically what is happening compared to the general population.
Well, real quick, just to be clear, just so we have the same definition, I've got the Oxford Dictionary definition for nutrition. It is the process of providing or obtaining the food necessary for health and growth. So that's the operative language, necessary for health and growth. In what way is soda being the number one bought item necessary for health and growth?
I don't think
carbs are important.
The purpose of SNAP is to alleviate like food insecurity, right? And to help people get nutrition where they wouldn't get it. And it is effective at that. There, like you can look at the USDA studies for that. It is it's like lifted, I think 5 million people out of poverty. And it is very effective at reducing the depth and severity of poverty, right? So it is what the purpose of SNAP is not to like be a end all, like, we need to measure every macronutrient that the person is consuming. The purpose of it is to, again, like, help people with food insecurity, things like that, and
So
it is effective at
I
that.
I actually agree with almost everything you just said. My question is, and what role does soda and soft drinks play in any of that in alleviating food insecurity and
Yeah,
helping
I mean,
people be
yeah,
nutritional?
it's still a calorie, right? And I think people, it is again, it's supplementary assistance, right? It is not meant to be that we're like controlling everything that somebody purchases with it. It is meant to be supplementary, right?
So,
So
just out of curiosity, do you have, if you don't know, just take a ballpark guess. What daily sugar amount do you get from one can of Coca-Cola?
I don't know.
A
I
12
have no
ounce
idea.
can? What are we
Just a
talking?
just a ballpark. Like, you think 50%, 40%?
I don't know. I don't think it
Like
really
40 or
matters
50
to me
grams of
though, right?
carbs.
Like, yeah,
Well,
I don't
why
think
doesn't it matter? We're having a debate as to whether or not soda is nutritional.
it's not about like nutritional, whether soda's nutritional, right? Again, this is a supplementary. Like a supplement,
Well,
right? It's
supplementary what?
a food assistance program, right? Yeah.
Supplementary nutritional assistance program.
Okay, but the purpose of is to alleviate food insecurity, right?
So, if I
Hold
could
on,
say something.
before we get away from it, the daily
It's
percent of sugar
78%
you
of
get,
a
yeah,
of a
78%.
daily.
Like,
Yeah.
that's obscene. From one can of soda. Like
Okay,
that
and
is
then
that is so
how much is
unbelievably high.
yeah, but like all of America, it consumes terribly when it comes to like sugar intake, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
The but's the floor.
So why is the government subsidizing it? If you've got a program that's designed, back to the definition of nutrition, to
Why are we creating a
provide or
food
obtain
right?
the food necessary for health and growth. In what world is where one can is 78% of your daily sugar? In what world is that necessary for health and growth?
So you're just creating literally like, oh, if you're poor, if you're on supplemental food supplement, sorry, if you're on SNAP, right? You like what you can't buy anything that your peers buy, right? Like your kids can't have cookies at lunch. I'm like,
Well,
Like,
so
okay,
they
I
can't
don't.
eat cookies.
let me.
Real quick. Let me respond real quick. Then you take a Deej. I'm not going to say you're being bad faith, but we've just covered that point several times already. That we're saying we don't have an issue with people using their own money to make their own personal decisions. It is a free country, and it's great for that reason. We're talking about what is the government assisting? What is the government subsidizing?
Sure. You've acknowledged that some of the people on SNAP do not have any income that can be allocated towards food, right? They are using SNAP as their main source, right? But with that being said, like if it is the main thing for their family at that time, that doesn't mean that they should be restricted on everything that they can buy.
Why are these
So
people not having income?
I don't know.
If I mean, if they've got some sort of disability, they would presumably be on disability, right? If they've got some sort of other condition, like we've got so many programs to cover people. If someone is on SNAP and not receiving any sort of benefits, then that would have to be because they're capable of working, they're able-bodied, and they're just not. That would be the only category of people that
well,
you're talking about
Sure,
here.
just real quick. So,
That's
my family was on SNAP for when I was a kid. My dad got out of the military. He had a job. It fell through, and there was like a year where he was trying to get work, where he could not get work. The economy he could not find a job that he would accept him in the fields that he was trained in. He eventually did, so we weren't on SNAP for very long. We were only on it for a few months. But during that time, that was the only income that he was getting. He wasn't getting any other. I think he was getting maybe unemployment too, but that wasn't very much. But this happens more often than you think.
And
So,
well, if it
Yeah,
was,
so
sorry,
a
last
lot
point.
of
I have to
times
just have to respond again because
people
if
can buy healthy foods and still have too much of it, right? Like portion control is still like a huge part of why people are obese, right?
well,
So
that,
if they're drinking juice instead of soda, it's not that much better, is it?
I can say more. I'll let Deej. I know I've cut you off a
Yeah.
bunch.
So like, and here's the thing. I don't think that both Gen Z or I have advocated that if you restricted what Snap could be used on, that poor people can't have nice food. I mean, honestly, the best tasting food you're ever going to eat is the ones that you make from staples from scratch. It's going to taste way better than the garbage that they're putting in their bodies right now. Your homemade cookies are going to taste way better than that tub of Costco cookies or Walmart cookies. Like they are. Like, even if it's just like you're a really bad baker, but it's made with love, it just tastes better when those burnt cookies are made by your mom. And
Do we know if they have like
I
an
don't know
oven?
if that's
Like,
true.
do we know if they have the ability to make that, right? Like,
so okay. Let's carve out another exception. You don't have an oven, you get an exception. It's very, very rare that people in the country don't have an oven. Like, yes, there are people that don't have ovens, but you can get an oven off of Facebook Marketplace for $15. I can find one right now that is an electric oven that like you can use.
Yeah, and again, and so we're talking about people who don't have enough money for food, and you're talking about spending extra money on an oven and being able to transport that oven from wherever the fuck it is to wherever your place is, and hooking it up. And if you only have like a gas hookup rather than an electric hookup, like you're gonna have to like call a guy to like come help. Like
It can be
it's
a
not just the
countertop
cost
oven.
of the oven.
I mean, hold on. All right, I'm sorry. If you're able to drive to the grocery store, you're able to drive to get an oven. Like
Okay,
from
so if I
Facebook
have a
Marketplace.
car, that means I have a truck. Like,
We're
don't need a
talking about the countertop
Yeah.
like oven, like not like
Oh.
one that plugs into a 120 outlet.
But
You
see,
can make a plate of cookies in that.
I'm hearing. I'm trying to listen really close to the arguments you guys are making, just to see, if I'm being led astray and whatnot. And I keep hearing the same line of logic over and over again, which is this idea. It's the soft bigotry of low expectations, where it's the same argument people use against voter ID, saying, "Well, we can't have voter ID because how are the black people supposed to get IDs? It's just impossible." And we just had a meeting at work today. I work at a firm with 9 attorneys. Some very successful in there. And the main one, the owner of the whole firm, had a great quote talking about the way you put expectations on others affects the way that they see themselves. And when your expectations you're putting on these people are, well, of course they can't get an ID because they're too dumb. Well, the whole opening point, which was we need more education. These people, so the inverse is, or the converse is, these people are just too dumb to know how to eat better, and we just need more education. It's like you guys are setting the expectations so low on these people. To me, and Wick, to bring up your point of your family story.
Low expectation.
The point of
at all.
the point of Wick's family story, I think it's relevant to this.
Hold on. Let Gen Z finish, and then we're going to
finish the point,
talk.
yeah.
I'll answer if it's appropriate, and then we'll give it to Stardust, and that's the order
The-
we'll go in.
Your story, I think, is good for the discussion because it shows, I think, how these programs are designed to be, which is same with homelessness. Say you hit a rough spot, we're going to give you a leg up till you get back on your feet. The problem that we're seeing right now is the way people are treating these programs. They are not treating it as I need my temporary leg up to get better again so I can support myself again. They're treating it, half of our debate has been over, well, people are starving without this, which once again defeats the whole notion this is a supplemental program. But so sorry, I lost my train of thought, but that's, I think, to the point, right, the point you made, Wick, if that was how this was being treated, 100%, I'm with that. That's just not the way it's being treated, and the reason it's not is because the soft bigotry of low expectations, saying these people can't possibly, they're just too dumb to know any better. We need to teach them to be better. It's, how about we actually give them something to aspire to so they can actually, I think the hope for everybody on Snap should be that one day they can get off Snap. Can we agree with that?
Sure. Well, for non-disabled adults, the average participation is less than 2 years. So
I have to disagree
They
with
do.
this whole
They don't.
bigotry of low expectations. I think it is actually way more infantilizing for you to put these restrictions on people and say that they can't learn. We have to put restrictions on them. They have to do what we say, and instead of like providing them the education to learn to make better choices for themselves, we're just going to take away their fucking choice. How is that not bigotry of low
Do you
expectations?
support
Yeah, and honestly,
do you support expanding Snap to alcohol?
You're infantilizing these people who are on Snap, and I don't think that's right. Like,
I'm infantilizing them?
Yes,
I'm going to make a controversial statement here. I think the data shows that to a certain degree, they kind of like can't be trusted to make good food choices when left to their own devices.
A lot of
Nanny
people
state.
They just don't.
choices,
I mean,
whether
most Americans can't. So, okay, actually, there was one question I wanted to ask. So in Europe, the way that food companies are able to advertise and make their products is different than the US. Would we all agree with that? Do we think that food lobbying and the way that American food companies market, produce, distribute, and sell their foods is problematic?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about cucked Europe. Okay.
Because I remember I
Base.
was having a conversation with a DC lawyer, and I'm actually, I agree. I think that they are cucked, but he was making he was going through, because he's a lawyer for nonprofits that target medical and food related stuff like that, and that there's a lot of lobbying and there's a lot of power and influence that these food companies have over America, and deceptive practices when it comes to food and putting things in that makes their food more addictive, that contributes to the unhealthy food culture that we have here in the United States compared to abroad. Like that is a thing that exists. And he was proposing that what we need to do is we need to create regulations to crack down on how these companies are able to manipulate the American public. And then I was like, well, wouldn't a great way to start that is by limiting what the tax dollars we spend towards SNAP go towards? Because then we're not stepping on anyone's ability to purchase food. We're not stepping on anybody's ability to spend their own money how we want, but we are taking about 1/3 of the market that those companies really target and really hurt the most, and taking them out of the equation. And his response was, oh, so you hate poor people, or you infantilize poor people, or whatever. And it's like, look, this is an easy way.
Wasn't that the argument from your side? Wasn't that the argument from your side in the first place?
Completely
Oh,
not.
you guys have bigotry of low expectations. Bigotry of low expectations. I'm sorry. I think you have bigotry of low expectations. I don't think that's correct.
No, it's statistically these people.
But hold on. Let Stardust finish her point. Go ahead.
You're saying that we're infantilizing. Yeah, of course I think you're infantilizing. Like, oh, you can't say that. You can't make that argument. Yes, I can. You just made it yourself. So, I'll listen to the crying later. Okay, I don't really
statistically, yes, these people are the unhealthy. If you're on SNAP, you are one of the most unhealthy demographics when it comes to eating food in the United States, and that's not something that just yes. I agree. Let's educate them. Let's create incentive programs. Like Dr. Darko said, they are effective. The incentives are effective, but they're most effective when they're also coupled with restrictions. And there's nothing demeaning about someone giving you a handout and saying this handout is earmarked for something healthy. Or not even something healthy. This is earmarked for staple goods.
How the fuck are you going to make How the fuck are you going to make the argument then that providing education to people, saying that they need to be educated, is somehow bigotry of low expectations? How are you going to
No, that's not. So when we brought up having staples, being able to bake your own cookies versus getting cookies from the big tubs at Walmart, right? You guys said, well, what if they don't have ovens? Okay, what if they don't have electricity? What if they don't have da 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 da? These people are incapable of baking or doing any form of meal prep.
I'm not saying that all of these people have these, every single person in the SNAP program has these exceptions or whatever, right?
Yeah, but that was the crux of your argument.
You keep bringing it up, though. Yeah.
My argument is about these people who are not the majority, but who are still receiving SNAP benefits. Who, maybe they don't, have all the same resources as the other SNAP, people under SNAP, right? We're talking when we're making a program for people, we do want to account for people who are falling through the cracks, do we not?
So for those small exceptions, we already have a system to be able to handle those.
And the exception cannot swallow the rule, and that's what you guys are advocating for. Well, because there's this one person out here, or this small group of people that represents an exception, we have to broaden out the entire rule of the entire program instead of just addressing the exception for what it is.
Broadening it out. We know that the SNAP benefits improve the nutritional the nutrition of people who are on SNAP. If you look at the study,
it alleviates starvation,
right?
It alleviates starvation.
Yeah, just real quick.
it also like helps with the depth of poverty that they're in as well, right? We know that it's effective. Why are we putting more restrictions on it?
$5, just real quick. $5 from the Trib one to say this, and I'll let Gen Z and Darko, not Darko, but Gen Z and Deej respond. SNAP is not about obesity. Poor people buy cheaper food. Non-poor people buy healthier food. Why? Is it biology, or is it environmental factors? Go ahead.
Question.
So first and foremost, poor people don't actually buy cheaper food. That is not true. They actually buy more expensive food. They don't buy the big bags of chips. They buy the individual ones. Or, okay, sorry. The ones that are prominent on TikTok do that. That may be why they're prominent on TikTok. But the point is, really, when you look at these high-fat, high-sugar foods that they're, like, purchasing in greater numbers, and we know most of their money's going towards this, right? They're not buying a whole chicken and piecing it apart. They're not even buying the frozen chicken breasts at very high numbers. They're not buying as many fruits and vegetables. When you make a meal from scratch, when you meal prep, you're getting healthy food, and it is much, much cheaper than buying those microwave dinners. It's much cheaper. Like infinitely so. Like if I don't know if you guys know this, okay? But if you go to the store and buy a whole raw chicken and piece it up yourself, to get the equivalent amount of meat, you have to spend about 3 times as much. You can basically get 3 whole chickens for the cost of like 6 chicken breasts. Like it is insane how much savings you can have. And then you get chicken stock from it that you can make. You get good wings, you get like there's so many ways that you can be frugal and have better quality food, better tasting food. And unfortunately, yeah, it does require a bit of education, so let's educate them. But let's also make it so that the money we're giving them has to be used in intelligent ways. At the very least, right? They can buy a bunch of sugar and make as many cookies as they want, but at the very least they have to go through the effort to make their own cookies to do that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with telling somebody who's getting something for free that this comes with restrictions because we want to give you the best chance to be as healthy as you can. Let's give them incentives.
I'm gonna let you respond real quick. I'm gonna just real quick, just real quick. I'm gonna let you respond. But $5 from the Trib one to say, so the bigger tree of low expectations is for all of America. Americans eat less healthy because of there being unhealthy options. Thank you for the $5. Okay, now you can respond. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
If we're talking about people who live in areas where like they're buying their groceries from a corner store, right? They're probably not going to have the same ability to buy, a whole chicken, like, people who don't live in those areas, right? If you are buying majority of your groceries from a corner store or from like a whatever, shop is available to you in that neighborhood, sometimes those shops don't have available the most healthy options. They're going to have less available of those healthy options, and you are just spending more on healthy food.
For that small portion of the population that it affects, let's give them that exception that we've already carved out.
Well,
Okay.
Deej made the point about meal prepping. Do you guys think, what's your response to that when he says you can save a lot more money by meal prepping?
I mean, I don't disagree. Like,
Okay, so the reason I bring up this point of soft bigotry of low expectations, he made that point earlier, and you're not disagreeing now, which is good. But when the point was made earlier, the response back was basically, well, what about someone who is a full-time caretaker? How can they possibly be expected to learn how to cook their own food?
I think the reason why that came up is, and I'm not saying to cook their own food, but I think the reason why that came up is because we were talking about how many of these people who are receiving SNAP aren't currently employed, right? And they're not currently employed because some of them are full-time caretakers, and full-time caretakers are very busy, right? So it's not that I'm opposed to people meal prepping, but again, we are making a program, or we are implementing a program that is meant to be like a kind of a wide blanket for a lot of different people with a lot of different needs.
Yeah, like how many Americans do meal prepping?
Not many. It's a big problem.
Yeah, the smart
so I
ones
mean,
do.
to say like, oh, it's a bigotry of low expectations because like everybody's meal prepping, like why can't they just do it? Like again, like they don't. Also, it's kind of hilarious that like the dude
we
from
are the
North
ones that are
Carolina
giving
is
them the
bringing
money
up
to buy their
voter
food.
ID law as like an example of bigotry of low expectations. Mr. Surgically targeting black people to stop them from voting.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I mean, we can have a discussion any other time.
That is a separate topic.
It
Yeah.
is.
We can
Sorry.
get into that another day. But go ahead.
Yeah. So I think, to try and focus us back in on the program itself and specifically, right, the prompt we're dealing with here.
Yeah, you brought
Should
up
Snap?
caretaker, by the way. Just so you know, it wasn't me who brought up the caretaker. So
Okay, so to bring it back to the program, supplemental nutrition assistance program, you're making the point that it's a matter of not interfering as a nanny state, and also it's a matter of dignity that people on SNAP should be entitled to government subsidized soda.
Did I say
Why?
dignity?
You did at the
Yes,
very
you said
beginning.
dignity.
I did.
Yeah.
At the very beginning.
Okay,
That was me.
maybe I did. Okay.
Nope,
So
that wasn't you.
so-
That was me.
It wasn't me. Okay, it was you. Okay,
Yep.
all right. Because I don't remember dignity coming out of my mouth. But
Yeah, I've also never made the dignity argument.
No, that was just
So
my view on it. But
My question is, we obviously know alcohol is banned. I don't even have to say as a matter of dignity. If you've got people who are on Snap who are saying, damn it, I want to have a nice glass of wine every night. I won't overdo it. I just want to have it. It's a matter of dignity to me that I need to have this. What's the argument against it?
I wouldn't be opposed to extending it to certain
Well,
to that.
I get it, but I want to hear Stardust and Darko.
Well, they're not making
I don't
that
think my
argument though,
my
right? I
argument
did.
Well, okay, forget dignity then. Why should we leave alcohol banned? Why?
because alcohol is not something that like everybody can consume in that household, right?
So, okay, if you want to
Well,
talk about
you can
18 to
have
21 year olds,
Snap and- yeah.
yeah, we can cut out the 18 to 21 year olds who are SNAP eligible but not old enough to drink. Let's do 21 and older SNAP recipients. Why should they not be able to get alcohol with their SNAP benefits?
Because they probably still have other household members, right? And we don't know the ability of them to consume that, right?
But we're not talking about those people. We're talking about the person who's able to receive it. Because you could make that argument to any type of government benefit.
They
What?
can receive it, but they still might have beneficiaries or like children in that household, right?
So alcohol should be banned from SNAP because there's a possibility of someone who buys it and has kids at the house, the kids might take it and drink it.
No, because we don't want them spending their money on the alcohol when they could be spending it on food, right?
Why not?
Nutrition
It's a-
for
hey,
Yeah,
them.
why not?
It's their choice.
because it needs to be something that is nutritionally available for all of the people of that household, right?
Isn't the recipient allowed to get stuff for themselves, or does everything that they get have to be for their children?
No, but it should be stuff that is available, that is able to be consumed by everybody in their household, right?
But I
Well,
still don't
what if your
understand why you're.
household is all people over 18?
Well, again, we are implementing a program that is meant to be a blanket for as many people as possible with a bunch of different factors in their lives, right? And when we're thinking about that, I think we do think about people. We're not really thinking about people who don't need that restriction. We think about right?
I actually have a question. Do you think the reason that alcohol and tobacco are not included as eligible for SNAP because of children aren't able to consume these things, or is it because people that are on SNAP are probably likely to have issues with addiction and we don't want to give money to
Well,
them,
I mean, I think
so
that's
they
part of
just
my
spend it all on
argument.
alcohol and tobacco?
Didn't I just say that people will spend money on alcohol rather than getting nutrition for their families, right? I think that was part of what I just said. So
Yeah, and also like it's because alcohol is not a food item. Like you also can't buy like vitamins or medicines or supplements with SNAP because those are also not food items, even though they would be like considered healthy and like could increase the
I wonder
the
if
Be open to
healthiness of your
opening it up
diet.
to those.
But by
when I say a full sentence, it feels like only half of it comes through to these guys, and then like they insert other things that other people say into my sentences. I don't know
But-
what's going on here. Like, is my mic
for Darko-
fucking up or something? I don't know.
For Darko, by definition, though, if you're going to rely, if your whole argument here is that alcohol is not a food item, then how are you possibly standing by saying soda is a food item?
Because it is. I don't know. I'd have to think about that for a bit, honestly.
I mean, soda is also able to be consumed by like everybody in the household, right? So, and
How does that make it a
they're-
food item?
The criteria is not whether or not it can be consumed by everyone in the household. I mean,
we know
you shouldn't be
it's
giving kids.
Right, we know
coffee.
that it's not, right? Obviously, but like when you're spending money on, you're an alcoholic and you're spending money on alcohol rather than buying food for your family, which does happen, right? at least if they're like a fucking soda addict, right, and they're spending money on soda, like everybody in that household can consume that soda, right?
But that's what the data says, is that SNAP recipients are
just hold
soda
on,
addicts
hold
above
on.
anything else.
Like the FDA does consider soda
They are,
a food
but
item.
also-
Just hold on, just real quick.
But they also spend less money on other junk food items than non-SNAP recipients, right?
But just FYI, the government does consider soda a food item. That is definitionally considered.
The
a food
FDA
item.
also
You can argue with that
considers
definition.
Alcohol.
item.
Yes,
That's
thank
fine.
you, Deej. I was
No,
about to say.
it considers
$5
it food
just real quick.
ingredients.
Just real
There are
quick,
no
just please,
nutritional
please, please.
facts on any alcoholic beverage.
Okay, just real quick. $5 from the Trib One to say America has a freedom of choice issue with your argument, Deej. That's what the disconnect is. It's not really SNAP. I'm glad you brought up big business. And then $5 more to say if unhealthy food was banned, would there be any issue with SNAP for Gen Z or Deej? If no, then do you see the actual problem here? Or is that bar too high? Thank you for the $5.
So, if unhealthy food was just banned, number one, I wouldn't support that. I think people should be free to spend their own money to purchase whatever they wish with. No, yeah, actually, I'm fairly libertarian on that. They should be able to spend they should be able to spend their money on pretty much anything that they want, so long as they have the ability to do so. But if we lived in a world where unhealthy food was banned, sure, then there's no problem, because all the SNAP money is going towards healthy food options, and so fine. By the way, again, my issue is not even just, oh, is it healthy or is it unhealthy? It's that I think they should have restrictions on what can be bought to primarily be staples. I would also be fine with opening SNAP up to additional items. Vitamins. Absolutely. I think that actually more Americans should be having vitamin supplements. Everybody should be having more collagen. They should be having more protein as well. I think that SNAP is a great program, but it's not perfect. And I think that there are things we can do. We can have incentives, but we can also have restrictions to make sure that the money that we're giving them, because again, this isn't their money. SNAP is not their money. It's money that the government is giving to them. Having restrictions on what that money is used for, because if it's a matter of freedom, why not have alcohol be allowed to be used?
Zetsway gave me 10 Wick TV gift memberships over on YouTube. Thank you, Zetsway. Really appreciate you. And if it's a matter of freedom of choice, gang, choose to spend all your money here at Wick TV by giving me gift subs, super chats, likes, subscribes, all that. Both on Twitch and on YouTube. Every bit helps. Thank you.
You take EBT because you're looking like a snack right now.
Hey, am I healthy or unhealthy though?
Well, that's not my problem.
Beacon of health. I'll give you
Good
that.
question.
I'm going to disagree with you on the vitamins thing. I do think that before we even get to vitamins, I do think that people should be able to buy hot food or prepared food. So
some states allow that, actually. Like Michigan has a list of restaurants. Like, you can go to Del Taco and use your EBT card, which is interesting.
Well, do we support? Hold on, just Darko. Do you support that?
I mean, I don't know. Food away from home is probably less good. But yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
Foods in the grocery store. But there are going to be times where, somebody is, just too busy to make something, or they need something. Quick.
I'm sorry. Just a quick announcement. And this is unrelated, but Spam Burger won the Virginia governorship. It's been called. So the Virginia governorship is now Spam Burger, who is a Democrat. So Big Blue W. Okay, sorry. And then $5 from Karen Duquette to say, has anyone ever made a homemade lasagna? How much did it cost and how long did it take? Okay, thank you.
Well, I'll answer that, actually. That was one of my black pill moments of like, wow, I should really start meal prepping, because I went to, I think it was Olive Garden, and I just wanted, classic spaghetti meatballs. That thing cost $15 and it came out and it was like not a huge portion at all. And I was like, next time I was in the store, I'm like, let me look at all the ingredients to make spaghetti. Noodles, a pound of noodles, less than $1. Sauce jar, like $2. To get a pack of ground beef, whatever, $4 or $5. Like the total amount for less than the amount I paid for at Olive Garden, I was able to make, and I eat large portions. I'm a big guy. I I made 5 Scotty O size portions, which for the average person is probably like 7 or 8, for less than the amount that I spent at Olive Garden. So like that was my like major black pill. Like this meal prep thing is legit, and yeah, more
But
people
that's
need
not
to do
meal
it.
prepping. That's just cooking meals, you know.
No,
And
so here's something that we do. So, and this is, I'm fortunate in that I do have a wife who would functionally be a caretaker, right? She doesn't have to work. She writes, but she doesn't make any money from that yet. She takes care of our kids. She cooks, she cleans. She's a caretaker. It's a full-time thing, taking care of the house and the kids. She does meal prepping. We make these frozen lasagnas. It's about, like, when you factor in the reusableness of ingredients, to make about 20 like lasagna bakes they're cooked and then portioned out and frozen. You reheat them for an hour and a half and they're all ready. You can make about 20 of them for like $10. You're talking 50
Sure.
cents a meal.
I'm not disagreeing with you on that, and I have always, like, said that, like, cooking at home is always going to be more economical, like massively more economical than buying out, right? But when you're talking about meal prepping, I wasn't sure if I think GenZ Lawyer was on the same wavelength as you, because I think if you're just talking about cooking, like, yeah, that's not like a really huge breakthrough that we know that cooking things at home is
but
less expensive than buying
but no.
out, right?
Here's the thing though, but my point with that story was I was able to make 5 portions, which that was my lunch for the whole week. I made for the price of one meal. So yeah, I meal prep for the week, and that's like, it's possible, it's doable.
It's not even hard, really. Like,
Wait,
it
so
just takes a little bit of
hold
work.
up. What's your definition of meal prepping?
Like meal prepping, like what more of what I'm sorry, what your name, I forgot what your name is. I forgot your
Deej.
name. Deej. Okay, Deej. What Deej was talking about seems more like meal prepping to me, right? Like making these things in advance. You know, uh, not for like just a week, right? Leftovers for a week, right? Like that's not.
Well, those
Yeah.
are for a week. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
meal
Or,
prepping can be make like a large lasagna that you're not going to eat in one sitting. That then is your meal for 3 nights.
yeah, that's the only definition I have for meal prepping.
That's not. I guess that's not my definition in my head for meal prepping. But yeah, I guess.
Yeah, because I guess I follow enough like fitness gym workout types, and they're big on meal prepping to like make sure you get your protein in, and they just always call it meal prepping. And it's like you stack up your 5 containers high of your lunches for the week from your one instance of cooking. But either way, I want to bring it back again. Sorry, I think we got lost on the way from the alcohol point, and I'm really just trying to drill down on this because it's the same logical argument of one. They're both, alcohol and soda are both unhealthy for you, but only one of them is banned and the other is not. And I know you're trying to make the point about, well, what about, think about the children? It's like, okay, I get that, but let's set that to the side. Just as a matter of the substance itself, the liquid itself, what is the difference between alcohol and soda, and why is one banned and the other's not?
One is not considered a food item by the USDA. Like, they don't have any nutrition
real
facts
quick,
on it.
Just real quick. That's not true. Alcohol is considered a food item, but it is also considered a drug, which soda is not.
Ooh, okay.
So
That's a better reason.
just FYI.
I mean,
Some
I think
facts.
my main argument for that, is still the same, right? There are like plenty of parents who will go and like spend money. Like that's just going to be my answer. I already answered, right? Like my main argument for that would be, yeah, there are going to be parents who go and spend money on alcohol and don't spend that money on things that
So, right, and you made a point earlier about alcohol
Yeah.
addiction. So you made a point earlier about alcohol addiction as well.
Yeah.
Can we all agree there is such a thing as junk food addiction?
Sure. Yeah. But again, that's something that they're still at least alleviating hunger for their children, even if they are buying junk food. Because the point of SNAP is to alleviate hunger and to reduce the depth of poverty, right? They are still doing that, even if they're making poor decisions and buying junk food with that.
But I still don't think you guys have met your burden here of what is the harm of banning soda and cookies from SNAP, not allowing people to use their EBT to get it. What is the harm? You're making the point about it's about alleviating poverty. what is the harm? What is the impediment to the alleviation of poverty? In fact, how is it not made even better?
Right?
What?
We're alleviating hunger.
So why do you need soda and cookies to alleviate hunger?
Are you just gonna ban like soda and cookies and like all sodas and all cookies? Like how do you classify whether or not something's a soda or not? Is it just everything that's carbonated, or
How about we all agree on what's being proposed? My proposal is
Alcohol is not
EBT EBT goes towards staples. So, and with the exception of if you're someone who truly isn't capable of cooking, right? With those exceptions, the homeless, the whatever, they can get hot meals, right? Microwavables, whatever. But for those who aren't in that situation, which is the vast majority of SNAP participants, the SNAP money can be used on staples. Now, what they make with those staples could be anything. They can make their own sodas, right? They can make their own lemonades, but it has to be made from staple ingredients. I think that's not an unreasonable ask. We know from the data they have the time. That's my proposal, at least, that staples is what it covers.
I didn't listen to anything that you just said because I was still on my point. So sorry. So I just want to reiterate that alcohol is not alleviating hunger for these households, right? It is not alleviating hunger, and it's probably not reducing the depth of poverty, right? Knowing that alcohol is a drug as well, right? Whereas cookies and soda, as much as we despise how bad they are for people, they are alleviating hunger and reducing the depth of poverty for those households.
Can you just flesh that out for me? How is soda alleviating hunger? Just focus on that one point.
Because it's calories, right? Like it's calories. It's something.
By that logic, though, alcohol is also calories. It's actually more calories. But leave that aside, though.
Like cough syrup is also just calories. Like
so, yeah, that's my point. The calories argument doesn't make sense.
Nobody disagrees.
Oh, let Stardust finish her argument. Stardust, finish your argument, please.
Yeah.
I've already said that parents will spend their money on alcohol, and
I'm saying leave the alcohol out.
And other members of that household cannot consume that alcohol, so it is not.
Okay.
It is not.
I'm saying leave alcohol out.
Just hold on. Another announcement. Another election announcement. I'm sorry. There's election announcements today.
Right.
There's election announcements today.
So and the alcohol thing on purpose, right? So I'm addressing it. So
okay. Lieutenant governor is also won by a Democrat in Virginia. Ghazala Hashmi is projected to win lieutenant governorship in Virginia. So big blue W, blue wave, W, Virginia. Okay, sorry.
So hold up.
I don't think
real quick. Sorry. Let me focus this in because I even said focus on this one specific point. How does soda alleviate hunger? And your answer was it's calories. And then you wanted to talk again about alcohol again. I said focus on the one point. How does soda alleviate hunger? Is it just calories? Is that the only argument?
Yeah, again, you were talking specifically about the difference between why are we allowed to purchase soda on Snap versus why are we not allowed to purchase.
And I've already said leave the alcohol to the side. Focus on the soda, please.
Okay, again, you can purchase soda, and every member of your household can probably consume that soda.
How does it alleviate hunger?
Are carbohydrates not nutrition for you?
Oh no! Don't jump in for her. Let her answer the question.
No,
She keeps dodging it.
No. You're trying to ask a bad faith question of like, oh, but alcohol is also calories.
She made the point. Hold on. She made the point that soda.
Hold on, real quick. I understand we all want to get in here. GenZ, finish your statement, and then we're gonna let Stardust respond uninterrupted.
Let me try and get this ultra clear, ultra specific. You said specifically, quote, soda alleviates hunger. I'm asking you to flesh out that argument. Please don't say the word alcohol. Don't pivot back to anything else. Answer, how does soda alleviate hunger?
It's still a calorie that people are taking in, right?
Is that the only standard? If something has calories, it alleviates hunger?
No, I mean, like they purchase other things with that, right? So it's not, nobody's like going there and buying only soda for their family, right?
So why is soda necessary then?
It's not, right? But a lot of things
So
are not
get rid of it.
necessary.
Cool. So are you advocating we eliminate everything from SNAP that isn't like completely necessary? Like what the fuck does that even mean?
Everything that's not nutritional, everything that's not necessary for.
What
Let
does
me
not
definition again.
nutritional mean?
Necessary for health and
Are you
growth.
talking about gum? Like because gum is the only thing that is literally no nutrition. Maybe.
Yeah, I'd be in favor of that. I'm with Deej's proposition that it should be for the staples that are necessary.
So juice is not necessary either. Juice is also very high in sugar and
How-
high in
so-
calories. Can be very unhealthy for children.
So you're agreeing
So-
then that soda is something that's unhealthy.
So do you
And-
think that juice should be restricted, should be taken off?
Yeah, I would be. I'd be in favor of
Soda.
that.
No,
So,
you,
what
you,
we
you
need
would
to
have to
do
get the
is we need to
concentrate
pull-
instead of the premix.
No. What we need to do is we need to come together, like as a society, and get the smartest scientists in the world to just develop this like nutritional, like necessary paste, and we'll just like ship that to all the SNAP people, like in place of like giving them money, because that like that way we know they're all getting the what's absolutely fucking necessary.
It just blows my mind that you guys are making the argument that soda is nutritional.
So
Well, I
Yes.
mean, milk high, like whole milk also, like in
I
large
really-
quantities
really-
is not healthy, right?
I really
So
feel
where
like
are
we're
we drawing
circling
the
the drain
line?
on
Where are we
this.
drawing the line
We
here,
we
right?
are, but it's
Juice is
because
totally
Look, hold
unhealthy.
on, just real quick. We are circling the drain. Gen Z keeps asking though. If you guys want to ask a different question, I'm happy to.
well,
So-
okay. Let me put a pin in it then.
Put a
Because
pin in
the-
it, and
the-
then I want to give it to
So
the other
what's
side to
wrong?
ask questions of their own. Go
Well,
ahead.
they're changing the topic now because we know that juice and milk and any of these things can be unhealthy for people, right? Like, so where do you draw the line?
I draw the line
bread.
at soda.
Do we allow people to purchase bread?
Yeah.
Why? People eat
'Cause
too
it-
many carbs already.
It falls under. I think me and Deej can agree, and he can disagree if so. I would say bread probably falls under our staples category that we're advocating for.
Why?
So the reason why is because generally speaking, when you're talking about Americans eating food, they don't just eat bread. Like unless it's like you're sick
don't
and you
just
just
eat
want to
soda.
have something in your stomach so you can take some Tylenol or whatever without
They don't just
destroying your
I'm
stomach.
sorry. So the only way I eat bread is as toast. Like I burn the shit out of it,
Yeah.
and then drench it in butter. Is that better or worse for me than soda?
Well, I mean, you could have a lot more of that without negative health effects than soda.
And
Here's the
that's
thing.
a different point. That's a different point entirely. The ability to take something and
It's not a
change it into
different
something.
point.
Yes, it is.
No,
Yes, it
no,
is. Hold
no,
on.
no.
The
It's not-
ability to take something and change it into something completely unhealthy is different from something that by itself, in and of itself. Remember, one can of soda, 80% of your daily sugar, and you guys are making the argument, unironically, that soda is nutritional.
What
How
about
is that the case?
What about a diet soda? That's less than 10%, right? Has
Really?
no
Diet
sugar.
soda is like other than the
Less
like
10%
potential
of
like
the calories.
effects that it has on like your appetite. Diet soda is fine by me. I'm not
You'd
one
be
of those
okay with
people that is
diet
like
soda?
against artificial
Oh.
sugars, but I still wouldn't be okay with that because again my kind of like premise of where I think we can set like a clear definition is staples and those raw ingredients.
cereal.
Bread,
What about
like yes,
cereal?
yeah, sure, cereal. Those are considered staples by Americans, and they're not things that are really like taken into excess and are problematic. We know what specific foods are problematic. I mean, we can really narrow down into like, well, but in this hypothetical situation, right, this isn't healthy. But the reality is we know what the purchasing habits of these people are, and we have the tools to be able to target and adapt to those. And for me, it really comes down to intentionality of how you are purchasing your foods. I have no problem with kids having juice. I have no problem with having cookies. I just don't think that our tax dollars should go towards subsidizing that ease of just purchasing a tub of cookies. They can buy the sugar, they can buy the flour, they can buy the eggs, they can buy the butter, they can make the cookies. If they want juice, they can get the juice from concentrate. And, honestly, I think that most people are actually happier making their own foods. And we have the data. We know that SNAP purchases are not used in a way that is conducive to healthy living. And we all agree SNAP solved starvation. It solved it. That problem is solved. How about we now use it as a program to start helping the health of Americans? Because we can do this without violating anybody's rights. You don't have a right to use SNAP on however you want. You can start small in this area where you have money. Okay, Dr. Darko, why is it that SNAP can't be used on alcohol? Why have that restriction if it's just money that's theirs that they can spend on whatever they want?
Because alcohol is classified as a drug, not a food.
Okay, why can't they buy vitamins? Why? Or no. Why can't they just buy
Because
anything with it? Isn't it just UBI? Okay, but why is it that they can only buy food with it? Why can they only buy food with it?
Because it's a food benefit. Like what? It's a food stamps program.
Because as a society, we have an obligation to make sure that we are feeding every American and making sure that we are nutritionally healthy. We have solved this issue of hunger, right? Now we can use this as a program to solve the health of many Americans. Like, this is one of those things that is like, yeah, does it mean that we're going to be limiting the choices of what people can spend their SNAP on? Yes. But if so doing, you have incentives and you have restrictions on what it can be spent. And we know that that has the greatest effect on alleviating obesity and a bunch of other health issues. We can use incentives.
Yes. The
we can
part
also
that you
use restrictions.
$2. $2,
Really?
then I'll give it
Like,
to Stardust.
just
$2,
for
and then
the
I'll give it to Stardust. $2, and I'll give it straight to you, Stardust. TL1524 for $2 says, Stardust asking for education. Can we get her some? Okay, Stardust, go ahead.
Very nice one. Okay, we already, like, we were just talking about circling the drain, and this guy goes over again and decides to go over the same fucking point we just went over. So I don't know who's circling the drain here, except for this guy who likes to hear himself talk. I would ask you again about juice, right? Like, why are we allowed to? But why are people allowed to buy juice then? Why even allow them to buy that?
Well, because again, my problem is not that people are going to potentially like buy unhealthy foods. It's that there's a bar of like purchasing this easy, clearly marketed unhealthy thing versus purchasing the raw ingredients and making the unhealthy thing that you want to eat. Generally speaking, most people, when they start making their own food from scratch, they're going to be eating healthier than when they're buying all the pre-made stuff. Also, it's just economically more viable. Buying juice from concentrate and using that to make your orange juice is just way cheaper than purchasing a half gallon of pre-mixed juice. It just is.
Not time-wise.
Well, but these people have time. Okay, it's a myth that they're all working.
These people, who are the like literally all like several dozen million people all have the exact same thing in common?
Only 30%.
Every single one of them.
Only 30% of SNAP beneficiaries aged 18 to 56 are employed.
Yeah, and you understand that like 60% of the people on SNAP are like under the age of 18 or over the age of 60?
I just said 18 to 56, that's the working years, are unemployed. Yes. The people that are under that don't even have any jobs. And so other than children, they have the time. And if they're not capable of making their own food, right? They must have a caretaker.
Okay, so do you think they're unemployed because they're on SNAP, or they're on SNAP because they're unemployed? Like, do you not think there's some selection bias going on there? And again, what I'm talking about is like 60% of the people on SNAP aren't working. So like again, you're talking about a small percentage, or you're talking about a section of a percentage of people who aren't working. And like again, and also, so
yes, the majority of people in SNAP are not working. So this idea that SNAP recipients don't have time to make food is just false. And also, most of the ones that are employed are underemployed. They're not working 40 hours a week.
60% of them, 60% of the people who get SNAP aren't working.
Well, actually, if you take all of them, it's more like 80%.
Actually, it's that's like 80% for sure.
That's just if you're looking at the people that are actually of working age, right?
Sure. And out of that remaining 20%, do you know how or whatever? But yeah,
statistically, they're underemployed, which means they're working under 40 hours.
Well,
a week.
the kids would, I would assume, be going to school, right? So they're
Yes, the kids
Would we
going to school.
consider that work? I would.
Sure, but they're also getting and places where school lunches are free, or
Not all
Snap can't pay for
places.
school lunches
School
too.
lunches are free, and I honestly don't know. And maybe someone else does. Can you use Snap to buy school lunches in places where school lunches aren't free? I would imagine so.
I think it's
know.
a state by state thing, but I think most states do allow for it. I'm
just
pretty
don't
sure
know.
Utah has like a food program for kids at school. But I'm in
what I
favor
do.
of I'm in favor of Snap purchasing school lunches across the nation. 100%. I'm all good with that.
Yeah, and the people who are like 70 or 80
So
that are
I'm looking.
on Snap,
Okay.
I don't think that they're. I don't know.
They
Their
usually have
ability
caretakers,
to
though. Or they're in a
get
nursing
around
home.
is a little weird. But anyway,
So I
We are
think I'm still.
I'll let you go. But we're going to wrap this up soon, so just closings are coming
Okay.
soon. But go ahead and go with your statement.
I think I'm going to go, since we are winding down, I'm going to go right back to where I started, which is the program itself, Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program. I'm still waiting. I think the burden of proof is on my opponents here to prove why something on the program is nutritional. I mean, it's in the name of the program, and I've got the definition from Oxford Dictionary. Nutrition is the process of providing or obtaining the food necessary for health and growth. I think I'm still waiting to hear the explanation
Carbohydrates?
for how soda is necessary.
Carbohydrates.
Not just contributory, necessary for health and growth.
Yes, carbohydrates are necessary. Carbohydrates, proteins.
Okay, what about, do you think the carbohydrates you get from soda, the health benefit from that outweighs the health consequences of sugar?
No.
So what's your point then?
I think that there are a lot of foods other than soda that would fall under that as well, right? Pop-Tarts would probably fall under that.
Yeah, like, you're talking about food that is just empty calories, which I understand you think is just like a nice like vibes-based like common sense category. But when we talk about policy, like we have to make a list of like items that are allowed or aren't allowed.
It's easy to do with alcohol. Just say no alcohol. Why can't we just say no soda?
Because alcohol is classified as a drug. Like,
No, you're missing. No, wait. No, you're intentionally obfuscating the point that I'm making. I'm making the point of. No, wait. The point I'm making is about bureaucratic efficiency. You're saying, how in the world are we ever going to know how to classify what soda is so we can ban it? It's easy for alcohol. They just boom. Alcohol, gone. You said it's an efficient program. What is the inefficiency of saying soda, boom, gone, the end?
Yeah, beyond,
what counts as soda?
Let's Stardust go. Then have super chats, and then we're going to go
I would
closings.
like to hone in. Again, this is not as easy as you think it is, right? Why are kids allowed to have Pop-Tarts then, right? Pop-Tarts are basically eating a fucking pastry for breakfast, and they're 60% of the daily sugar.
Yeah,
intake,
I'd say kick that out too. Easy.
Okay, so then again, where do you draw the line? Where
I draw the line very easy, very simple. I draw the line at anything that is not necessary for health and growth, because that is the definition of nutrition.
Necessary.
If something is going to be part of the nutritional assistance program, I think it's a fair argument to say it should be nutritional. Like, why is that such a hard concept to understand?
Because you're doing this weird equivocation thing where you think like nutritional like means this good nutritional profile, which again is a normative statement that like a bunch of people are going to have to sit down and make a list of and update over time. Like eggs were bad for you for a while in like the 90s, and then like egg whites were good but yolks were bad, and they went back and forth on that for like a while. Like again.
By the way, they are bad for you. Eggs are amazing for you. Eat more eggs.
That's right. But the thing is, I'm sorry. I'll finish
in Trump's
with this.
America, are you trying to make us broke? Okay, go ahead.
I'll finish with this
Whites
because
are even better for you.
when I say there's obfuscation here, that's exactly what I mean. We're saying, well, there was a time where eggs were considered unhealthy. We've all agreed already that soda is not healthy for you. Like, does anyone disagree with that? Does anyone think soda is healthy?
I putting soda on a spectrum from healthy to unhealthy is a silly task. Okay, it's sophomoric, and you're not respecting like how much effort it would take to create this category of soda. You're like, oh yeah, soda. It's just like common sense, bro. How would you classify like any beverage item as a soda or not?
It's intellectual cowardice. It's intellectual cowardice. Obviously, soda is
you can't set up the actual prescription, and you just you're like, oh, like anything that isn't the exact definition is
because it's obvious.
Obfuscation.
It is obvious for everyone to look at soda and agree the studies are conclusive. They are conclusive that soda is not healthy. But when I ask a yes or no question, do you think soda is not healthy? Well, it's a spectrum and it's sophomoric to even dive into the hypothetical. It's like, that's what I say when you're obfuscating. It's such a simple, easy question. You guys don't want to answer it.
Okay, go ahead, Stardust.
What is soda? Like is sparkling water soda?
Oh, great. We're doing what is a woman? It's, yeah. What do you got to say, Stardust?
Okay, yeah, I don't think I disagree that sugar, sorry, not sugar, soda, is unhealthy, right? Especially without moderation, right? You would hope that people, when they do purchase it, they're using moderation, but they don't. And there are always going to be people who don't, right? But with that in the same token, right? There are going to be people who buy juice and consume way too much fucking juice, right? Or give their kids way too much fucking juice, and that's not good for them either. Are we going to say that juice is unhealthy?
I think juice comes in at 14th on the list for stuff that's bought with Snap, while soft drinks is 1.
Yeah, but again, that doesn't change it, right? That doesn't change my question. Is juice healthy then?
I don't know. I'm probably going to give you the answer you're not expecting. I would be happy to exclude juice because of the same reasons of the daily sugar content. The way modern juices. And Wick, if you want to look at nutrition facts on the Sunny D, I'd be curious to see. I mean, I could look it up myself, but it's the same.
Pretty horrible.
Yeah, it's pretty horrendous.
Okay, so it's really bad.
You're making this argument about what people, whether people should be able to buy these things that are like super unhealthy for them. Again, juice is definitely up there. So
my simple prescription, you now
lines for a lot of things.
Dr. Darko, you're saying I'm not engaging 5%
juice, so
Yeah. Dr. Darko is saying I'm not engaging with a question. I'm not engaging with conversation. I've already given the prescription. It's the same as Deej. It's the staples. If it's something that is unhealthy for you on the net balance, so Pop-Tarts, juices, soft drinks. I think soft drinks are the easy number. Soft drinks are the easy number one because those are the number one thing that are being bought. And we're looking, and as we've already laid out over and over again, the causation between these types of dietary habits with obesity and diabetes, and then the causation between obesity and diabetes to premature death and strain on the healthcare system through programs like Medicaid. Like the consequences are just so broad and vast, but every time we try and bring it up, it's some sort of deflection, pivot.
Okay, before you respond, let me, I do got to get these super chats in. People paid me good money to say these words, and I will. $5 from the Trib 1 to say government assistant programs is where Deej's threshold is when it comes to optimizing health over optimizing freedom. Can I ask why, fundamentally? And I'll let you answer that. But Malik for $10 says, excuse me, most people on SNAP are only on it while they are unemployed. Most working age SNAP recipients are not in the program permanently. Thank you for that $10. But let's go to Stardust. Let her finish up, and then we'll go to Deej.
So now, okay, you're saying that, okay, in your world, Mr. GenZ attorney, that's your name, right? So in your world, okay, we're now restricting SNAP beneficiaries from purchasing soda, Pop-Tarts, okay, juice, okay. So how about certain sugary cereals, right? There are a lot of cereals that children consume that are very bad for them. What's your stance on that?
Yeah, no, if it's not one of these staples that we've already been over and we've already prescribed, then yeah, my answer is going to be to keep it out.
So you understand?
Also, sugar cereal isn't actually that bad for you, depending on how much you have.
I'm not finished. Okay, so again, so you understand that you are like, as we go through this, you are putting more and more restrictions on this, right? And it like you're imposing more and more restrictions on people who are receiving this benefit. And at a certain point, we're talking, there are going to be people who, again, get majority of their groceries from corner stores who don't have the same access that, the rest of the beneficiaries have. You're all just like, you're putting a bunch of, it seems like, restrictions on people who probably don't have that much time when they're grocery shopping to be spending that time in discerning all these things, right?
Do you?
Like it's more and more, and it feels like I don't feel like that is the again, if the main purpose of SNAP is to help these low income people and alleviate hunger and reduce the depth of poverty that they're in, putting all these restrictions on them is just making it harder for them to do that, right?
Are you? I don't really know anything about you. Are you capitalist? Do you like capitalism, free markets?
I'm a very, very strong capitalist. Yeah.
Okay, good. So, because the solution to the problem you're raising is, okay, well, if we put all these restrictions and all these corner stores that rely on EBT, they're just going to have such a hard time. I feel like the free market would be pretty quick to adjust.
My argument, but
okay, about the
people
stores
from those stores, yeah, are going to have a hard time, right?
So, but that's because under what we currently have. But if you're a corner store, you're a business owner, and the requirements for what is EBT qualified changes, and you're a store that the majority of my customer base relies on EBT, are you not going to adjust the goods of your store to reflect that?
I mean, it depends on how easy it is to get those things in there, right? Like how is a corner store going to get like a whole chicken for people, right? Like it's probably not going to happen.
And when I say things like the soft bigotry of low expectations, that's exactly why. Because how could we possibly expect a corner store to get the staple foods that people will need under EBT?
What have you been to that gives you full raw chicken?
I see corner stores with a bunch of junk food because that's EBT eligible.
Do you think that they have it because it's EBT eligible, or do you think that it's because a lot of people like junk food?
Do you think there are many businesses getting the majority of their money from ET?
Not the majority, no, but a substantial chunk, yeah.
A lot of rural communities also do have local butchers, but
like how much percentage of like income do you think the average store makes from their EBT purchases?
Well, what's the 42 million times how much per month?
Like a third.
Yeah.
True.
So yeah, substantial chunk.
900 billion.
I just think the free market will adjust for it.
I will say, I think that
that's not a free market.
Well, just to be clear, it's 12%. It varies, obviously, store by store, but it's 12% of all grocery sales in the U.S. come from SNAP. So
yeah,
does that include food or also other grocery items though? Or does it differentiate?
Grocery sales, so whatever they count as groceries.
Okay, that would also include things that obviously are not EBT eligible, but we can move on.
Well,
although I do want to get to Trib's question.
Yes,
that's directed at me.
You just love talking. Okay, so I will say again that probably part of the reason why they have junk food in these stores is that it's eligible, but another reason is that it's easier to carry, right? It's not as easy to carry fresher foods or raw meat, right? Like, I'm sorry, I've never been to a fucking bodega that carries whole fucking chickens. That I've just never seen it, I'm pretty sure it's a very rare thing.
Mine used to, they took it out.
Okay, gang. So $2 from Shapingro. Should cooking wine be EBT eligible? And that'll be our last question before we go to closings.
So yes, and also I do want to answer Trip's question because he gave you money, Wick.
Yeah, he did. Go ahead.
Yeah, the difference between the difference between the two items that you put together is that I think it's okay for the government when it's giving you something for free to have strings attached to what the government is giving you. I don't think it's okay for the government to tell you what you can or can't do with your own money. So that's fundamentally the differentiation there.
Okay. Well,
I've never used cooking wine, so I don't know. So
it's amazing.
Okay.
With that said, gang, this has been a great discussion. I've really appreciated all of y'all's contribution. There is absolutely more arguments to be had on Snap and things like that. What do we got coming up? So I'm going to be doing a little election coverage for a little bit after this, but not very long. I just want to go over the wins that the Democrats are making just really quick. But also on Thursday, we're going to be having Short Fat Otaku Dev. We're going to be having Lactoid. We're going to be having Fatty. And we're going to be having, who's the fourth guy? The guy whose name I don't remember Radical Coder, that's it. And they're going to be talking about whether or not healthcare should go to illegal immigrants. And it should be a fun discussion. So tune in for that. And then
Fun.
on Friday, I will be debating with Tolly on the next Wick and Tully show, right? And it'll be a debate between me and Tully on who has a bigger problem with anti-Semitism, the left or the right. And that should be a fun one too, so tune on in. Okay, with that, I'm going to give all these lovely individuals a chance to tell people where you can find them. I have links to all their channels in my YouTube description, and also closing thoughts on the subject at hand. We're going to start with Stardust, and we're going to end with GenZ. So go ahead, Stardust, and then we'll have GenZ have the last word.
Closing thoughts. Again, I just don't. I don't think it's like. I don't think it feels very nice. Like, okay, I didn't want to bring feels into this either, but like, I think also if you be a SNAP beneficiary, or if you're like a kid of somebody who's a SNAP beneficiary, it probably doesn't feel too nice to have all these restrictions put on you, and then like knowing that you can't buy all the same things as your peers, right? Obviously, there's that, but like I think that the larger thing is for me is I just don't like putting all these restrictions on people where they're really not necessary. When if we start putting all these restrictions, we're going to go down all these different lines, because there are a bunch of things that don't necessarily look like they're super unhealthy, but they are, and a lot of people consume them. With the example of being Pop-Tarts or orange juice, those things, right? I'm not really for that. I think it's bigotry of low expectations to say that these people can't learn. They'll never they're not going to benefit from education, and that we need to, act like mommies to them. I just don't. I don't think that they need to do that. I don't think the government needs to be wasting time doing that. I'm Stardust. It's been a while since I have done like live content, because of a lot of editing, and also just things. You guys may remember me from a while back. I used to debate more and do more stream stuff. You can find me at youtube.com/@StardustIRL. New channel. So yeah.
Check her out, gang. Thank you for being here. Really
Same new channel. Same new channel. Not another new channel. Just the same new channel. I just renamed it.
check it out, gang. And go give it a click and give her a sub and things like that. Next up, Dr. Darko. Go ahead.
Yo, Dr. Darko. Find me at Dr. Darko on the internet. Putting restrictions on Snap are impractical and also ineffective. They're impractical because there are over 700,000 food and beverage items or products in the U.S. And 20,000 are added per year. You need to go through all of those and and choose either what categories that things are in that are going to be approved by Snap, or rearrange all those categories. And again, that is just a whole bunch of bureaucratic hurdles to this. Although my opponents like to think it's very easy. It's like, oh, just staples, stuff that can be made into other stuff. And it's like, okay, well, what about s'mores? Am I still going to be able to buy like marshmallows and Hershey bars? Because they, can be used to make other stuff. But yeah, sodas can be used to make some food items. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. All these people were against it like 10 years ago when Michelle Obama, my queen, tried to roll this stuff out. Tried setting higher, healthier requirements. They whined about the nanny state. But now we're rules lawyering over what the word nutrition means, and how that doesn't imply a normative statement about the nutritional profile of a food item. But yeah, I'm glad these people are finally on board with common sense programs, I guess. Now that a guy who sounds like he got shot in the head and doesn't believe in vaccines is telling them that it's important, that's going to be a whole great time. But yeah, when you restrict, or the best results that the studies came out with, although the data is very mixed, is that adding incentives works better than just adding restrictions. There is some gray area there, where the combination might also be useful. But again, it's a lot easier to offer incentives than it is to add restrictions, because that won't actually change anyone's behavior.
Okay, thank you for being here. I got a link to his channel in my YouTube description. Please give him a sub. He took time out of his day to come give us content, so give him a follow. Next up, Deej. Go ahead.
Yeah, my YouTube channel should be linked as well. You'll occasionally see me reply to Wick on Twitter as well. You can follow me there, Deej nuts. Kind of hard to say it out loud. So first off, before I begin, and I don't blame you for this, Stardust, because you are a woman, but I'm pretty sure if I go through and timestamp the speaking times between us, you've had more time than me. So I find it very funny you've been calling me out on that. But as far as the actual topic at
More
hand,
important to you, that's why. Okay, so
yeah, okay, got it. So studies show it's very apparent. SNAP recipients, even when compared with those who would be eligible but don't participate, eat unhealthily at much higher rates. And we have a list of what food items are unhealthy. We know what these unhealthy food items are. I agree, incentives work. But to the points that I said earlier, incentives plus restrictions have the longest long-term or the largest long-term gains on reducing the unhealthy eating habits of SNAP recipients. I think fundamentally it is government's responsibility if it is providing a why is the word escaping me? A freebie to people, that it does so with certain restrictions. I don't think that there is anything wrong with having the dual mandate of both solving hunger and also solving health problems, because as a social utility goes, we don't like having hungry people, we don't like having unhealthy people. Both are a burden on the system, and we want to alleviate that. SNAP is a great program. There's already the mechanisms in place to restrict what is or is not SNAP eligible. It doesn't require massive bureaucratic overhaul. To Dr. Darko's point, it's scary now that the brainworm guy is in charge that they could just arbitrarily change what is or isn't SNAP eligible without having to involve Congress. Well, that's the point. The mechanisms are in place to control what SNAP can already be used for. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I want fed Americans and I want healthy Americans. And I think that restrictions coupled with incentives is going to be the best and most effective way to do that. I believe that it also is ultimately, from a utility and moral perspective, the most ideal path forward.
Okay, thank you for being here. And check him out, gang. Give him a follow, give him a sub. He's kind enough to be here. Appreciate you. Last but certainly not least, GenZ.
Thank you again for having me. Once again, sorry for being a little late, but yeah, you can find me on YouTube. GenZ Attorney is the channel, as well as Twitter at the GenZ Attorney. Also got a new channel going called Ordered Liberty Podcast. Started that with Ryan Mullally. Got weekly episodes every Sunday night, 8 p.m., talking about American founding principles, reasserting the American moral proposition the country was built on, and interpreting the news of the week, legal news, political news, through that framework. So definitely highly recommend y'all go check that out. As far as the topic tonight, I mean, I'll just go back. I'll end where I started, which is just the program is called, and I've a broken record at this point, it is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. To me, in order for that to be real, to be a thing, it would have to be supplemental. It'd have to assist people, and it would have to be nutritional. And if there are parts of the program that are not nutritional and are not supplementing or are not assisting a healthy population, I think Deej is completely right. It's not hard to walk and chew gum here. We can have simultaneous priorities, which is have people fed and not feed people poison, or allow people to feed themselves with poison, which we've all clearly agreed is what soda is effectively. So. And anytime we bring it up of this one change we're making, let's just get rid of the soda on it. Now we have to walk down the trail of, what about juice? What about Pop-Tarts? In my perfect world, yes, those things would go away, but that's also not the prompt of tonight. We were focused on one thing. It was soda and cookies. I challenged my opponents to explain to me how soda is healthy or how cookies are healthy. You could see, I think everyone watching can see the dancing away from that point that was made. So I think that will speak for itself. As far as, I think tonight was the first night I've ever heard the argument made that if you are anti the welfare state or you are against the welfare state, somehow you're the one that's fostering the nanny state, or you're in favor of the nanny state. Those are just completely in opposite positions, but I've never heard that one before. And last thing I think I'll finish off with, Stardust, I don't know if you realize, but you made a point in your closing about, well, the kids should be able to get what other kids are able to get. I know you deny never saying the word dignity, but that is an argument about dignity, and that kids should have the dignity to also get soda just like their classmates are. We've said it a million times. Me and Deej have agreed. We're not saying people cannot buy soda. Just do it with your own money. It's a simple premise that beggars can't be choosers. And if you are relying on the government dole to feed you, then I don't think you exactly get to call the shots on what you're able to get. A simple solution is the staples. I think it's a more than reasonable solution, but at the very bare minimum, if soda's not healthy, if soda's not nutritional, then maybe it should not be part of the nutritional program. So I'll end with that. Thank you, guys.
No, thank you. Gang, go check him out. Go give him a follow. He's been kind enough to spend his time with us tonight, so please reward him for his service. Gang, if you like this content, if you like this show, we're not ending. We're just going to send all these people away in a second right here. But if you liked it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Throw me some cash, okay? It really helps keep the lights on, keep my shirt on, you know, all that. And I'd really support the channel, and I'd appreciate it a lot. What we're going to do after this is I'm going to go and cover the election that's happening, because we had two major wins for Democrats so far. And it's looking like, it's a little too early to call, but it's looking like Jersey's going to go our way too. This is looking to be a shutout, total blue victory, and we're going to talk about the ramifications of that. But thank you for being here, gang, and wave bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
What a show, gang. What a show. Did you guys enjoy the show? Did you guys enjoy the discussion? Give me a second, gang. Let me put my shirt back on. But that said, gang, we are crushing it electorally tonight. So I hope all of you who were in states that had elections today went out and voted. I know I did earlier this morning. Got up bright and early, the crack of 7, you know, to go in and get my vote in. It's very important. In Pennsylvania, the important thing was the Supreme Court and whether or not we would keep on the current Supreme Court justices. There were 5 up for keeping them on, and I voted yes to every single one of those individuals, right? That was the big one for Pennsylvania. In Virginia, we have 3 races. 2 have been called. 1 is yet to be called. The 2 have been called the governorship. Shapensburg won, the Democrat won, the lieutenant governor won, and these are flips. So these were previously held by Republicans that are now held by Democrats. And again, the elections were not close. These were blowouts. Let's be clear. We have the Georgia race, and for the first time in 25 years, again, the first time in 25 years, I want to make that clear. Georgia has flipped 2 public service commission seats, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but again, Democrats have flipped those in a state where they're traditionally not doing that kind of thing. This represents a potential sea change on these things in these states, and I think that's great. Now, New Jersey is one also that Republicans were looking to take. It's too early to call right now, and I'll just show you guys on the screen what I'm looking at. We have the live results for the New Jersey 2025 gubernatorial election. There's only 21% of the votes have been counted. 64% are for Mickey Sherrill, and 35% are for Jack. Jack. We're gonna just call him Jack. Okay. These are the counties that the votes are in for. And you can look at 41% of the vote counted in Ocean County, 49% in Camden, 20% in Gloucester. What are we looking up here? We got Hudson, 40%, 35% in Essex, Union, 20% of the vote, and we got down here Cape May, 35% of the vote counted. These are going to come in throughout the night, obviously. And again, it's way too early to call. We don't know yet, but it's looking like the Democrats have a major advantage here. Now, obviously, the one that has captured a lot of news attention recently has been the New York mayoral race. I don't view that as important, right? I don't. Look, it is one of the biggest cities in America. That's true. And it's not nothing, but it doesn't tend to map on nationally to politics, right? But it does give kind of a snapshot of the mood of the electorate. And I think the Virginia, the New Jersey, and when we see the Pennsylvania race, I think that'll give us a much better indicator of how the general electorate is going and how people look at the Trump presidency and whether or not these votes reflect a referendum of sorts on MAGA. I would argue in the case of Virginia, in the case of New Jersey, they absolutely do. And Pennsylvania as well. Pennsylvania, I think, is a strong bellwether, right, on these things. Now, these are off-year elections, so fair enough. But with Trump's poll numbers just plummeting in a free fall, basically, I do think that these wins, if you are Republican, you should wake the fuck up, right? Because this is how people are, and the voters are looking at you guys. They do not think you can govern. They do not think you are worthy of being elected, and that's because of the behavior of your party. So yeah, we got some stuff to go. I won't cover this too long. I got stuff to do, but I just wanted to kind of get that out there to kind of give you guys my feels on the subject. And no, this is good news. Now there is one race that I hope the Democratic candidate does not win. That is it's a Virginia race, and that is for the Attorney General. I think Jay Jones has demonstrated himself unqualified, right? From being the Attorney General because of the leaked comments and things like that. So I hope he loses. But other than that, I hope it's a blue sweep across the board, frankly. Jones is actually leading right now, so I might not get my way. But and that is something else you'll have to contend with, I think, MAGA. How bad was the Republican candidate that Jay Jones, even with his, in my opinion, disqualifying statements, how bad was the other option that Jay Jones still won, if he wins? Let's look at the, let me see if I can pull up the Virginia Attorney General race. Let's see the live rejection results. Let's go into it. We got a lot of the vote is in, 51.3%, but it's pretty close. Jay Jones is up by a little bit, by a little more than a percentage point at 50.5%, whereas Jason Mraz is at 49.1%. Still too close to call. We won't know for a while, but that's where we're at in the Virginia race. I am curious what the Pennsylvania race looks like as well. Let me take a look at that. Pennsylvania voting results 2025. Okay, for the Supreme Court, we can take a look at this. There's not a lot in yet. 8% of the vote. Like, look, Pennsylvania is very, very slow at counting, notoriously slow at counting. So we only got about 8% of the votes in most of these in the statewide races. For the Supreme Court, though, it's looked like the Democrats are David Wecht is going to be retained. Kevin Doherty is going to be retained. Christine Donahue is going to be retained. The Superior Court, the Dems handily winning. Alice Dubois is going to be retained. And again, it's only 8% of the vote. These votes can and will change. So it's a little too early to make any broad statements. But I do think that, again, if the Democrats sweep in Pennsylvania, I think that's a very good indicator of where the country is at right now. We'll see, though, right? We'll see. Guess we'll find out. But yes, what we do know, what we are sure of currently, right now, is the Virginia governor race, easy W for the Dems. The lieutenant governor race, easy W for the Dems. Let me see if there's been an update on the New Jersey stuff. No, that's still at only 26%. It hasn't been called yet. But Mickey Sherrill is still pretty big lead. Nope. Nope, they called it. Sorry, I'm wrong. Sherrill wins the New Jersey governor race. That is the call. That is a projection. So, yeah, good night for Democrats. Sorry, I'm making a little, I'll let you guys see. Making a little tweety tweet, okay? Blue wave, 3 for 3, perfect score. More to come in midterms, MAGA bitches. Tick tock, tick tock. Little taunting. We have fun with it, gang. We have fun. Okay. No, great results. Excellent results across the board. Yeah, I'm feeling good, and I hope you guys are too. And I'll see you guys Thursday. $5 for Greg Yo to say, if this is a sweep, do you think the Trump admin is going to try some weird shit for the midterms? They might try. We'll see, though. I think that, like, our system is more resilient than people give it credit for. Like, people can try and fuck with it, but it's pretty steady. We've designed it that way, right? Like, it's cellular. Things have to go wrong at a huge scale for it to have any noticeable effect. It's really hard to fuck with. So he might try, but I don't think he's going to be successful. I think the odds of him being successful are very, very, very low, minuscule. But sure, he'll give it a try. Is this because of the shutdown? Maybe. I don't think so, though. Will this prolong the shutdown? I saw a good proposal that I would be supporting to end the shutdown, and that is a temporary 2-year extension of the benefits, and then we come back to it in 2 years. I think that's keeps it temporary, so it can be discussed and debated, but it also opens the government and keeps those funds and the benefits in place, at least for now, and the government can get funded that way. I think that that's a proposal that's been put forth by Democrats and Republicans. I think it's a good compromise, but yeah. What site do I use for tracking election results? A variety. Different elections have different sites that do well at them. Like, so for example, I go to the NBC and PBS News for most of them. The PA election results, I'm going to a PA site, right? Because it's not like super big news. It's just like the Supreme Court races and things like that, and they count slow. For projections, I tend to use any of the major news sources or Newswire. One of those, like CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, Newswire. Those things I tend to trust. They tend to get it correct. So, but damn, good news, great news. Tick tock, midterms coming, blue wave, let's go, motherfuckers. Let's take back our country, okay? Let's take back our nation. But yeah, Okay, I'll see you guys on Thursday. I love you all. Thank you for the donations. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the subscribes. And yeah, it should be fun. Peace out, Girl Scouts.